Welcome to the Hollywood Scholar. I'm Jed Morgan, and we are back for another Writer's Corner after taking a month off for the holidays. And it is great to be back with these amazing writers and creators with me. And let's just say hi to the panel. We got a great topic today, so I want to jump into it as soon as we can. So, howdy, Adam, the Renaissance nerd. I feel like I know we do this joke every time, but what's my life without you for a few hours?
I know, Jed. You are the wind beneath my wings. You are the ground beneath my feet. When you are not around, my heart aches. And the day that Henry Cavill swoops you up and you give birth to his baby, I will be sad because I will have lost you forever.
Quite a lot of sweet words from a man who hasn't bought me dinner yet. Come on.
Hey, I don't buy dinner. I make dinner.
Oh, fighting words.
Toss that salad.
Oh, we're already off the rails.
That's what I see. Yeah, we're off to a great start, and the person who usually makes things worse but better in all the greatest ways. We have Lady Bellfire as well.
Hi
Howdy,
guys,
Lady B.
how you
How's it
doing?
going?
I'm doing okay.
Glad to be here. And
Always excited.
Dre. For him, it's actually true. I haven't seen him in a while, so it's great to have you on here, Dre. What have you been up to for the last few weeks? I hear you have a bit of exciting news that is kind of in the same vein as this. Actually, two parts of exciting news that is in the vein of this show.
Well, yeah. So I am pretty much finishing up production of my 8th issue of Trouble the Rhythm Within, so I'm excited about that. Finally putting this story arc to, I won't call it rest, but to a satisfying conclusion for the time being. So I'm excited about that. That is
how many years to finish a story arc. It feels so good to reach the end of the rail.
It's just every book, it just is like a weight off of you.
Yeah,
hell, every chapter.
Yeah, true.
Well, wanted to share this as well. I saw this on your Twitter account. This looks great. This is going to be for your sequel series, correct?
Yes, that's no. Actually, this is the final issue of the arc.
Yeah, part 8.
Yeah, this is the final issue of the arc.
I saw your next issue, but I
guess
not.
This is
that
the
looks
final
awesome.
Final one of this arc. So I am excited. I can finally. Well, I still got to put the graphic novel together, but neither. That's peanuts compared to all the work that's gone into this series itself. So I'm very excited to be dropping this soon once all the production is complete. So I'm a proud panda. So
I also want to congratulate you on this. I heard you got an award as well.
Yes.
What?
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes. So it feels good to be recognized for the hard work that you put in. Especially people that appreciate good storytelling. It's a grand gesture in of itself to just be recognized amongst a lot of other great writers that are out there in the sphere. But to be bestowed an honor like this it's a really big deal to me. So I'm very, very proud. I'm very proud. Absolutely.
That's great. Well, it's great to have someone, big and famous like you on this panel. Great for you to stoop down to our level. But no, seriously, man, it's always great to have you on here. I really appreciate your insight because you're actually one of the uniquest members of this panel. The rest of us are more novelist, and so the perspective of a more visual medium is definitely something that's appreciated and just gives us a new perspective, and that's always a good thing. Diversity of thought.
Agreed.
Yes.
Agreed.
No, everybody must have the same opinion. We all must say the same thing and talk in unison.
If that were true, I would like Last of Us, but afraid that's not true.
I didn't have to cover it because everybody said no. So I'm happy.
Well, before we say hello to the chat, I want to let a few people come in first. I want to just do a brief hello to everyone and say, what have you guys been up to writing-wise since we last got together? Adam, it's been 2 months, so you gotten a chance to do anything exciting that you want to share about?
No, but I haven't actually put pen to paper, but I did figure out for book 2 what I'm working on. I did put together the Act 3. I know
Ooh.
it all. I just need. What's keeping me now is the transition from Act 2 to Act 3. I haven't quite
Mm.
figured out how to put everybody where I want them realistically. After the reveal, after the events of Act 2 come to a close, and things are settled for the moment, and they move on to reaching, without spoiling, their destination, which they've been trying to get through the whole book. I figured out what to do. I drew on an old idea from another story, and I realized, okay, I'm going to go this route. I haven't done this route yet in the series. I can do this, but how do I make it happen and make it feel organic? That's where I am now. I'm trying to put the pieces together for that. But I know the general outline, so I know where Act 1 starts, where Act 1 ends. I know where Act 2.
Yeah.
I know Act 2 is in the one place, and I know the events surrounding it. I know the twists, the turns. I know the alliances that form, and and everything that happens. I know what happens away from the party, when we jump to different scenes, different areas going on. And now I know where Act 3, how to structure Act 3, how to bring it together. I've always had the ending in my head, and I know exactly where it is. It's just the transition from Act 2 to Act 3. That's my only hang up at the moment. And once that happens, then maybe I'll be a little bit closer to starting pen on paper.
Yeah. Well,
Are you outlining it or like in your
I
head?
could never do that. I would die without my
me too.
psychotic
It's
outline.
just all up here.
But I want to highlight how you talked about how important it was for you to feel organic, and that'll tie into what we're talking about later with the topic of the day. But maybe a question for the panel as we go through this. Do you guys have a preferred part of the 3-act structure that you like to do? Like second act, I do not like writing the second act. I don't know what it is. Like it's more out of obligation than excitement, because I love how to start stories and I love how to finish stories and like the climax. But second act low points,
Since I just spoke, I'll let the others go first, since I just said my piece.
Well, Lady B,
ladies first.
I'm trying to think. I think that second act is kind of like difficult to do because it's like it's so big, and there's this sort of like it's hard to fill in that kind of in between the climaxes kind of point, I guess. I'm trying to like think of like what it is exactly that I don't like about that second act point, but I think it's trying to make sure that like you're moving the story forward, but you're also letting the story breathe at the same time, if that makes any sense.
It make things difficult. But while we're on you, have you been able to write anything good? I've been graced with a few of your early chapters with your fantasy western, so I'm excited.
Yeah,
for
thanks.
more.
Like I was working on an outline, and then I had a bunch of stuff that I started a new job. I had a really bad pain flare. I kind of had a falling out with my editor. So I'm kind of, I don't know. I haven't done anything. And I looked at the notes a couple of days ago and I was just like, I really want to write. But like that kind of like emotional baggage is a little bit like fresh still. And so I think I'm not quite ready, but I'm definitely starting to think about like, where can I take it? Like, where are we going with this? And thinking about it again where I haven't thought about it all. So
yeah. Well, the brainstorming aspect can sometimes be the most fun part. So
yeah.
But let's go over to Dre for both of those questions, the 3-act structure, and you've been working on anything exciting recently beyond what we've already mentioned with you?
So I'll go with the second question first. I'm working on, I'm currently in the midst of writing the second arc. So I've written one whole issue of the second arc coming, and I'm almost done with the second issue writing for the second arc for the Trouble series, which its title is going to be Trouble: Rise of the Children. So that's going to be the official name of the coming story arc. God knows when that's going to be here. I know after I'm done with this one and I finally make the graphic novel, I will be taking a hiatus. I most definitely will. I'll be taking a hiatus. I've burned the candle at both ends for this series about half a decade now. So
wow,
I'm gonna take myself a hiatus for sure. As far as acts are concerned, I am a fan of the second act. I'm a psychopath. There's something wrong with me. I like the second act. the three act structure. The first act is we get to know everybody. Second act is when terrible things are happening, and that's where I live. I live where
Mm,
terrible things are
that's
happening.
true. Those are fun.
It's my favorite thing to do. Writing struggle and tragedy for our hero. I love writing heroes losing. I love that. I love it. I love it so much. It's my favorite thing to do in the world.
Yeah, it is kind of fun to torture your protagonist.
It
You're like,
is.
here, have
It
this awful
is. It
thing.
is. Yeah, I want to see him or her. I want them to struggle. I want them to earn it. I want the third act to be
Yeah.
earned so badly. So I'm willing to put a character that I love through absolute garbage, just so at the end of it all, I can be like, "Yeah, you did it! Yay!"
I'm
And
proud
what
of
I
you.
like to do, what I like to do via arcs, even through arcs, I try to do the three acts, even in comic arcs.
Oh yeah.
So let's say my 8 issue arc, issues 4 and 5 are going to be my character's lowest point, like
Mhm.
somewhere into that point. And in this case, I'm making, because I'm, once again, there's something wrong with me. I'm doing a 3 act structure for this entire series, while at the same time within arcs do 3 act structures.
Well, that's the way to do it.
Yeah,
I've seen
Yeah.
that in
yeah.
shows before, and that's what I'm doing as well. The third book is the lowest point for my characters, and that's going to be the middle, the story. And yeah, it's what you really should do. There's a reason why the 3 act structure exists, and you can apply it at any stage of the production, even in
Yep.
chapters,
Yep. Yep.
individual
Yep.
chapters.
Yep. So
But
that's why I like it. So I love the second act. Third act, the payoff, I think is my least favorite, because I
really,
think the third act is my least favorite, because everything's being cleaned up. I mean, like, it can still be epic, all that stuff,
yeah.
Yeah.
but at the same time, I know that it's all coming to an end. You know what I
And
mean?
it's short too. Like it's like you're really like
hmm
it's like you have a tendency, like I've done some things where it's like I want to have more people talking and like things, and I'm like, does the story need that? I don't think so.
Yeah, exactly. And so in the third act, there's a thing. Second act, you have the creative freedom to stretch it for as long as you want.
Yeah.
Like if you want to throw filler, if you want to throw long ordeals for 400 pages, you can do that. But for a third act, it has to be concise. You have to tie up
hmm
all your bows nice, little neatly, and you can't let it stretch on. And there's a couple of books that I've read recently that the third act stretched on too long, and I'm just like, yo, get to the point. I mean, like, I get what's coming, just hit the button, you know what I mean? And I think that's so, like, there's a lot of restriction on the third act, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, for my first book, I divided up into 15 parts. There actually says it's like this is part 1, this is part 2, or whatever. It says it there, and there's an illustration with each. But the third act of the story is only the last 2 of those parts, part 14 and 15, because yeah, it's really is the shortest aspect of it, because that's when things really kick off. That's when the battle with Typhon is, and the big climactic pitch battle at the end. And yeah, that stuff doesn't take as long as you hoped it would, but it's supposed to do that at the same time. But throughout all this, we've actually been mentioning the occasional thing that is very much in line with the theme, with Lady B saying cutting out filler, not needing that dialogue. Does it actually help the story? And the organic stuff that Adam was talking about. And we'll jump into that in just a moment here. But first, I want to say hello to the chat and hail. We got JB and the Coconut here. Great to have you guys here. And the ever faithful Mod Legatus working hard to keep us safe from the internet trolls that we know and love, the stands. And then we've got Jaden Hamilton as well, the young man who makes me feel old. And that is a feat in and of itself. That is an impressive feat. So it's great to have you guys here. And anybody else who's just in the back lurking, great to have you here as well. We're going to jump into the topic of this evening, which is the old classic writer's technique or rule called kill your darlings. Or it was previously known as murder your darlings from back in the day when I looked this up. Sir Arthur Quiller Coach or Cooch, ladies.
You say coach.
Okay, designed it back in the day, and it's not what you think. Like even Adam was like, "Does this mean I should kill my characters more?"
Yeah, well, I mean, I didn't know what it meant, but he just when he sent me the definition, I'm like, oh yeah, I know that.
Yeah,
it's just something you do. It happens.
Exactly. It's an unspoken rule, even if you don't know the exact terminology. It's something that every writer has to consider and do if they're of any quality. So it's basically kill your darlings is just having a moment to look at your stuff objectively and say, hey.
Oh yeah.
I love this idea. I love this scene. I love this character. I love these lines. But does it benefit the story? Should I kill them in a metaphoric sense of taking them out of the story, redraft it, and cut something you love out? And it's that objective versus subjective nature that you need to balance hard to make a cohesive story. That's something that a lot of Hollywood doesn't understand these days, for example. And
Good
I
lord.
heard it recently come up with The Last Jedi. I've heard Kill Your Darling around Last Jedi a lot. And some people were saying that was Ryan Johnson's only problem is he needed to learn that rule. And it's kind of
Only problem.
Oh, good
yeah,
lord.
that was a great little argument that I heard, but it's kind of overused in some senses. It's applied in the wrong situations in others. Like I've had people say that Lord of the Rings needs a hefty case of Kill Your Darlings, the original books, and so it gets misappropriated a lot. So that's kind of why I wanted to talk about it and apply in the sense that it was intended to be, or at least is what we believe it to be, and how we apply it as well, knowing that there needs to be a balance. It isn't implicitly objective versus subjective. It's not objective 100% of the time. You have to have a balance. And I think that's the big thing in a lot of these conversations that we have is it's never black and white. You always have to find the balance in every writing rule, everything that you do in a creative sense, because it's one of the like weirdest industries to be a part of because of how much you have to balance both perspectives. So just want to go around. Anyone have any thoughts initially on the concept murder your darlings or anything?
Yeah, I'll go. And I'll
All right.
blend it with the last question about this whole second act thing. Because to approach this, to answer the last question too, I I believe in the first, second, third act system, but I instinctively approach the whole acts differently. I don't mind at the end of the second act having a climactic moment. I sometimes I do it, and it happens. And the way I divide the acts is just here are a certain set of events, and here's the next set of events. And if you can see the dividing line, I hope I presented you can see the dividing line, and the final act has to be the transition from reaching your goal in a certain sort of a way, whether it's metaphorical or physical. And once you're into that, it's not necessarily long. I kind of sometimes see acts as even things, not one longer than the other. It's kind of just even parts. But to your point about the whole tonight's topic, in the original draft of Guardian of Innocence, and Jed has it right now, and what he's reading now is a drastically different version than what it was 20 years ago when I first wrote it. The original second act ended with a pitched battle in an escape from a city with the creatures Jed is familiar with called the Mokarth that I've created. And at this point, our heroes are equipped enough to deal with them in that version. And we're talking maybe 3 out of the 5 characters there can handle them, but the other several cannot, so they're forced to flee. But just think about a packed port city, civilians all around, and our heroes were on their way out of the city, heading to a prearranged ship that they've made arrangements on. But then suddenly, boom, 20 to 30 of these beasties are there, and let the chase begin. And in the original version, I loved this chase fight where it's just on the run, hectic, this and that, claws, swords, fighting, using environment to get away. One character basically parkouring his way through it, trying to get other things involved because he can't fight them, and jumping back and forth. I loved the whole concept of it. When I wanted to do the rewrite, it was still there. When I did the rewrite, it was still there because I loved it so much. But as I got farther along in the story, when I did the rewrite a couple years ago, and I was reaching the point where, okay, I have to either send them in the direction travel-wise to reach a place where this can happen, or I don't. And I worked so hard. I had another version of it. Okay, it's not on the port. It's on a river. They're going to get attacked and they're going to run, but then where do they go? How do they get away? And no matter what I did, I could not make it fit. Because logistically, there was no place where the fight could happen. There's no way to legitimately for them to escape. And at this point, also, again, I had to rework it also. The way I worked it, the only 2 characters out of the assembled 5, maybe 6 at this point, are capable of fighting these creatures. And our hero, our protagonist, cannot. He's not one of the ones that can. So suddenly, I had a problem. I can't do it. So I had to make the choice: take it out. It's gone. And when you reach that part, you'll notice when you go through it, it's not there. It's not there at all. It's not even hinting at, no direction at it. So I worked as hard as I could to get that in to be the beginning of the third act. Actually, that was the beginning of the third act, because now our third act begins where our party is assembled in that book. And now, boom, okay, but now it's just, I can't do it. Couldn't do it. But you'll see I did a sort of a replacement version in this one, Jed. When you get there, I'll just say now the chase through the palace. When you get there, you'll understand that that's my new version of it, just not quite as insane as what I want to. So when you got to take something out, maybe you can find something to replace it with that makes you feel, okay, I got to do sort of what I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
But I took the thing I really loved is gone. And maybe someday, some way, shape, or form, I'll get it back. But at least there's something that's sort of what I liked in there.
No, absolutely. And yeah, that's the basic thesis of all of this, is knowing when to cut out something you love. That's the very basic definition of this. And it's difficult. And we all wrestle with it probably every time that we sit down to write. There might be little things that we like. And I can see Lady B smirking. So is there something that
I'm
you're
just thinking of like the first draft of this story that I started writing. God, I just wanted to just put everything in. I wanted to introduce all of the characters, like the whole family, the whole backstory of the family, like throwing them in the world. And there, I had like 3 different storylines going, and just doing so much stuff. And I think I got about 70 pages in, and I'm just like, and then my editor's like, you're doing too much. Like, and he had, I really appreciate that he told me, like, this just sucks. Like, I'm sorry, I mean, it's a cool idea, but like, this is awful. I'm not even going to keep commenting on the rest of it. And I'm really glad he did that, because then we started talking about like, well, what could we do? And then we kind of decided that the story is really, I think it's going to lend itself more to be like a 3-part series. And the first book will be like the main character. The second part will probably be like his sister and brother. And then the third part, bring them all together. But like when I looked at the different characters and kind of what they represented, it's like, okay, this guy, Kit, the protagonist, he's basically like the just straight up adventure story. And then his sister and his older brother, like, they're more of the like political intrigue story. And I realized that like the political intrigue story was cool, and it introduced a bunch of interesting things, but really the best way to introduce that would be to do the adventure story first. So that's kind of like, we're just dropping everyone in the world and doing that. But God, yeah, it was so hard, because it's like I came up with all these cool ideas of stuff I want to do that, and it came up with this magic system with my brother, and we kind of wanted to have guns and all of this stuff in it. And I'm just like, I love it, and it's so cool, but in the end, did it really suit the narrative? And I've had to give so much stuff up. And I kind of look like it like I have a journal that I write everything in, and I say, hey, I'm not going to use it in this part of the story or something, or maybe even this story, but I could use it somewhere else, and that could be for something else. So I try to, if I come up with a good idea or something I really love, write it down so it's there when I want it next time.
And that's the best thing you can hope for out of a situation with Kill Your Darlings, is finding a way to reincorporate it later when it makes sense. Because the example that I'm working on right now is, as many of you know, I'm doing a new edition of the book because of some publisher stuff going on in my first novel, and I'm rewriting the prologue currently. And the original prologue was about a page and a half, really not a whole lot there. It's just a brief story about Nike, the Greek goddess. She's drinking in a pub, and the main villain of the series, the first book actually, Atlas, is there, just being everyday people. And that was the idea that actually spawned this entire series for me, is the idea of a Greek goddess just living a normal life. What would that look like? And it was just a really quick scene leading to her death. And it was meant to say, hey, this is happening. Atlas is hunting gods. That's what you need to know right now. But this new version of it I'm working on, I've got it up to 20 pages. And I was like, I love what I'm doing here, but am I adding anything of value? Like, it's still the same point is getting across. It's just very, very bloated with way more flowery dialogue, and that's something that I fall into that trap of having overly sophisticated dialogue because I think it makes me feel smart.
Yeah.
And
But
then you got to wonder if what you're adding to there, you got to keep track. Am I altering a future moment by adding 20 pages to a prologue that didn't have 20 pages before? Have I changed something
right.
by accident? Have I accidentally retconned something that I have to go trace and find out, did I make a mistake here? That's the danger of that too.
It's so hard. And yeah, with my books being about 600 pages a piece, 600 page books,
That's so
that's a
much.
lot of story to keep track of. And so yeah, if I miss something in the prologue, I get to book 5, it's like, oh, I screwed up the setup. The original book had the setup and I forgot about it. Right. So yeah, it's a matter of killing your darling. So I have to go back and re-edit it. I need to know what to keep, what not to keep, and it's really hurts because I love what I'm doing. It's still the basic plot line. She goes to a pub, she drinks, meets Atlas, goes back to her place, and he kills her. Still the exact same thing, but there's so much more going on.
And I think that's the issue that we all kind of run into, because we want to include every single detail into what's going on. You're thinking about, whoa, what is Atlas thinking at this moment before he takes Nike's life? What is Nike doing? What was she eating? What was she drinking? What did she smell like? All that stuff is going into the detail, and that's what you want your audience to visualize. Everything that's going on into your brain hole. Me, I have a different problem. I'm coming from a visual medium, so the issue is spacing. Spacing is the problem that we have.
Space.
Like yours all are, hey, do you want a Bible-sized book by this all said and done, or a novel? My issue is you cannot over clutter the panel, and that's where the sticky situations come into. Me, I'm a lyricist by nature. I have family that does music, blah 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 blah. So when I was writing this, because it's an action adventure musical, so there's songs in it, I had to cut down a lot of the songs, a lot of them. Like my first draft, I think the first song that was featured, when our first time put his headphones on, he's walking down the street. That joint was about 14 stanzas, so long, very long. Even cutting them into each panel, it was like reading an essay. And I'm sitting there like, oh my God, these lyrics are fire. But I'm like, who's going to get it? And then I had to go back and be like, okay, if I can just cut the songs down, put them into just caption bubbles, and we'll be able to understand what the song is, what the song is alluding to, and how it's helping continue the story. Instead of just sitting here being like, oh yeah, spitting hot fire, flames in this joint. You can sit there for 45 minutes. You're like, okay, I've read this whole song. Now what? You know what I mean? And now the message has been lost. So that was definitely something that I knew I had to cut. Despite of how the creative juices were going, like, oh my God, oh yeah, I wrote punk lyrics, I wrote rock lyrics, I wrote rap lyrics, I wrote all this stuff, and I'm sitting there like, oh, panel's not big enough. And I can't have a panel per page for each of these things. So my book will be, I don't know, 450 pages long and still not have anything done. So
How
that's
long
definitely something
is
that
your
need to be cut. Say
No,
again.
sorry. I was gonna ask you, how long is your typical comic, like a single issue of a comic book? Like, because I know with like screenplays, it's like you do like a page a minute. So your
Mhm.
typical like screenplay will be 120 pages.
Mhm.
So it's an
So ours, the regular standard is 22. 22 is the standard, and it's usually never more than 30. Now, what those pages mean, those are pages without counting front and back cover, inside page, front cover, and inside page, back cover. Because those will be 4 pages. So technically that will be 26. But as far as meat is concerned, it will be 22. That's the standard. But you can go up to 30. That's kind of like you're pushing it,
yeah, definitely.
like this is ooh, we don't want you to go this high, but that's pretty much how far it goes. But usually 22 is the standard. You can't go any lower than that. If you go any lower than 22, the print pages will not be even. It won't be even at all, and then the printery will give you white pages. so so you'll be sitting like, oh my god, didn't you like, wait, did something happen? Like, no, you didn't have enough. Oh, I screwed myself. That is correct. Yes, you
Well,
Very
in a
interesting.
medium like yours, it's probably even more difficult than it is for us to deal with Kill Your Darlings because of the brevity required of that medium. What you're talking about, 20 pages. I
have.
can add another 100 pages and be good to go, but you're very, your industry is very strict on what you are allowed
Yes,
to incorporate.
and
And
it's
so
very and it's
that would
very
drive me
concise, and
crazy.
that's why a lot of legends of comics is always spread so quickly of like what it really means. What does this mean? Oh no, he wasn't trying to kill her. He was really just trying to nudge her in the right way. Did she really mean to stuff her in that fridge? Like all these things come up that way.
I get that one.
Yeah, okay, there you
I get
go.
that one.
And that's why a lot of things are subject to interpretation,
Hmm.
because we um that's just how way it is, because you cannot have every single detail, which once again you rely on your audience to be intelligent to try to fill in
Hmm.
whatever blanks they can. But that relies on you to be a very good writer and director, so you could be able to send your audience in the right direction to make the right conclusions. Because if you cut out something that's important that you thought was just passerby, you're losing it. And it was actually something funny that had happened. It was actually in my first issue, and in the very first issue, there's some shadowy people, and they pour this mutagen into the water supply. Now, I was really bent on the water supply doing the stirring and glowing noise. I was not going to budge on it whatsoever, and I dedicated about 4 panels to the glow, to the yellow glow of the water,
Oh.
and to its dissipation, because it's very important. Because if it just continued to glow and I go to the next pages, my audience will assume that there's going to be glowing water the next time they see something. So I
It
could
would
have been
really
like,
creep
okay,
out grandma when she goes to get a drink.
exactly, exactly, and but then the moment they see water being poured and it's not yellow, they'll be like, hey, wasn't it yellow a page ago? No, but it's very important to add the details that will still fill in those
Hmm.
blanks. Because if you don't leave those out, now it's subject to interpretation, and then it's usually being misconstrued. So it's like, so in our medium, it's very, very, like you said, Jed, it's a very, very difficult tightrope to walk.
Hmm.
Well, when it comes to killing off our darlings, especially as far as character work is concerned. But as it is in comics, everybody dies at least once and comes back 10 times. So that's not really the issue too much. But as far as like those important factors and that information in regards to how you're going to tell your story without bloating and without boring your audience,
Hmm.
because I've read some boring crap in my time by a lot of different people. So it's just like, hey, I get what you're trying to do. However, you could have cut out these 5 pages. All this can go.
Yeah, plus there's probably the aspect of like what you can tell visually too. So it's like you can say, oh, maybe I know, because that's kind of like with the filmmaking thing too. It's like you don't want to waste space like describing something. You want to just give it enough detail. Because
Hmm.
script writing is like, I think it's very similar to comics, and
Mhm.
it is so bare bones. I actually really don't enjoy it that much because it's mostly just dialogue and like you kind of explain like what happens a little bit or like where they're at or something. But it is definitely a medium where you learn to kill your darlings. I mean, if there's anything I learned from doing like screenwriting and development, is that like the importance of the editing phase and how you
Hmm.
really just have to be able to just say, this isn't working. We need to fix this and do it. And that's really hard because there's a lot of things in movies you'll see, you're like, somebody just really liked this and they wanted to see it in the here, but it doesn't really belong.
Yeah. Well,
Precisely.
I really like something you said, Dre, talking about the requirement to have your audience figure it out. That's something that we all like. That's what Kill Your Darlings is, what makes it so difficult sometimes. And that's something Adam and I talk about a lot when we're critiquing film or television, is we praise this stuff when it trusts the audience, when
Oh
it lets
yeah.
us figure it out and it has some ambiguity. Ambiguity is a very important tool in a writer's tool set that shows their talent. Ambiguity is not something to be wasted. There's plenty of examples of some of the greatest television moments or movie moments in history are so ambiguous that people can talk about them for decades. And it's all because the writer was willing to let them figure it out and not and Kill Their Darling. I'm sure the writer had a version of the story that they liked better, but they decided it wasn't up to them.
I think a good way to kind of get around sometimes the Kill Your Darling is to make sure you get your clue in there for something, for a story plot. If you we all know where our stuff is going. Well, if you're doing it right, you know where it's going. Jerm, we're looking at you. But you if you lay your seeds just right, even if you have to kill a darling and get something out, it shouldn't ruin the overall flow. Because if you've done the planted seeds correctly, there. And my favorite thing is wondering, have they spotted this seed? Because I take great pride in saying I don't do anything at random. Events, moments, certain things that nothing is done at random. So usually, if you spotted something, if it looks like it's important, it probably is. Now, it may not pay off in this book, the next book, or even this series. I can guarantee in the first series, in the Chronicles of Rosetta, there's a lot of stuff being done there. It's not going to pay off for a long time. Not the next series, the following series, but I'm building a foundation. So the important thing if you're going to cut things out, make sure that you either don't cut out what you need, or if there was an important seed, find a way to get it in there and make sure it's going to grow properly, and then be happy if somebody figures it out. And this is something I was talking about with somebody earlier today. If somebody figures your stuff out, be happy about it. Don't change it.
Oh
Don't
God, yeah, I
change
agree
your
with
original
that.
intent. Don't
Did you?
change your end. Just keep going. If they figured it out, you be coy. And when it's happened, you say, "Those figured out. Congratulations, good job. You saw where I was going. I wish I'd been able to keep it in the dark a little bit longer. Maybe the darling I killed might have kept you in the dark a little bit longer. But as I said, rewriting an entire book from scratch, you can't keep every little good thing in there. And
Hey
sometimes,
Adam,
yes,
did you read the whole Wheel of Time series?
yeah, beginning. Well, only thing I didn't read was A Dream of Spring. That's the only one I didn't read. I read 1
Oh
to
yeah,
14.
so
Yeah.
like one of the great examples of that is the Tame Mandrid thing that Robert Jordan did, where he had Mazrim Tame being Demandrid initially, and which was one of the Forsaken. So he kind of had this whole set it up, and then like this is I guess when the internet started getting big and people that have been reading the books like figured out that that's who he was, and he didn't like that the people figured it out, so he actually changed it, and I think it really like weakened that part of the story. So I think there's definitely something to do.
Stick to your guns and and you know what? Be proud that your nerds that are following this are that smart.
Exactly.
Be proud that they figure. I mean, and then it's on you. Maybe up your game a little bit. Maybe trying to hide it. But if you have to kill your darlings, just make sure you don't change your whole story because of it. And when, like I said, when you're rewriting a whole thing from scratch a couple years ago, there are things that had to be changed because I changed some things I changed complete aspects of everything, and therefore it had to be changed. But in the end, don't be afraid to realize that maybe when you kill your darling, what you're going to come out with may actually be better. I think that the version I have right now is light years better. One, my writer's voice is completely different. I am better than I was 20 years ago. I have learned all the lessons I needed to learn. I know how to do it all the way I want to do it. And to what I was saying to Jed earlier, it's just what we described what you were doing. You're writing the prologue. You're different writing this prologue now than you were when you wrote the original book. And I notice for myself when I go back and I look, it's like, okay, I'm rereading old content leading up to where I am to refresh myself. And I realize, wow, I did this different here. I did this different there. I am a complete 3 books later than when I am where I am now. Literally 3 books later, my style is drastically different. And that is one of the most important things. Understand that if you're going back in time, you are rewriting something, matching up could be a problem. And it's like, okay, yeah, and you have to make sure the flows are there. And that's why I know that's why at one point fortunately the fandom died to an extent for fanfics, but when the Tenchi Muyo fanfic fandom died out, I made sure that I found every site that was hosting my stuff. I said, yeah, take down, please. I don't want evidence of what I looked like back then there at all. I don't want that. The story wasn't bad, but my style was sloppy. It wasn't. It's not what it should be. And even though everybody loved it, won the awards in the fandom, I am insulted by my own prose, by my own structure, because
I feel that
it didn't flow properly, or I crammed too much in, or I spent too much time on a fight description. It's like, no, I'm different now. I know how to make it work. I have my own voice. I'm not mimicking Robert Jordan anymore. I'm not mimicking Terry Goodkind. I'm not mimicking David Eddings anymore. I am my own voice. And that's part of the Kill Your Darling. Once you understand, I think, that you have your own voice and you know what your structure of a story looks like, you know when something works and when it doesn't. You don't need somebody else to tell you. You have enough objectivity and confidence that, okay, I know this is wrong. I know it's wrong, and I'll take it out. I haven't ruined the story for it. If it's really this good and I really want to do it, I can recraft it. It'll find a place later in a future version of a story.
Well, you highlight something important there is Kill Your Darlings isn't always a negative thing in like a subjective sense and how you feel about it. Because just like you said, I recently went through, or for book 2, actually, I went through a Kill Your Darlings phase where I had this big action scene at the beginning of the second one. It's really bombastic, not quite pitched battle, but kind of traipsing around a lot of territory. But I just didn't feel like it flowed narratively, and there was some character development that was really important for that time. So I took it out and decided to do like an homage to the classic film It's a Wonderful Life, and did like a what if, because my main character, it's incredibly important to him, his suicidal tendencies. That's where his entire personality is built, on that bedrock that he wants to die. And he believes it's because of the tragedies that he's endured. And so he goes through a Wonderful Life thing where it's all the what ifs. Would he be a different person if he went through a what if where he was raised on Olympus and the gods were in power? Would he be different if he was a normal everyday person with a great family? And just going through that, and narratively, it was so much more satisfying, and like the excitement factor, it was so much better than the action sequence, just on an emotional and a subjective level, that I am so grateful I decided to kill that darling, because it burst something far superior. So yeah, Kill Your Darlings is not always about just objectivity. Sometimes it turns out the better subjectively as well.
Yeah.
And you know what? Like another thing that I found.
You're really, really quiet, Lady B.
Oh, I'm sorry. Am I?
I think you might have switched your audio there.
Oh, you know what? It probably switched the thing because my mic came off.
Yeah.
I think did you kill your mic a second ago? I saw you doing something with it. I think your volume went down real low.
Better?
Yeah.
One more time.
Yeah.
Is that better?
There we go.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, it auto selects a different input, and I did the cord came out of the microphone. But one of the hardest things for me in terms of like killing your darlings is that I have had when I had my new editor, he really wanted me to like really improve my writing style, just the way that I just write. And I think one of the funniest ways that happened is I read something that I had written originally, and it was like a short kind of a start of a writing challenge thing. And then I wrote how he had rewritten it. And like my mom told me, it's like, you write like a woman. And it was so funny. And she's afraid to say that because like she didn't want to insult me, but and I asked her to explain it to me, and she's like, well, you're just describing a lot of feelings and the way things look and stuff like that. And
I guess I would do like a woman too.
Yeah, no, it wasn't like feeling so much, but it was like I was it wasn't as active, I think. It was more passive, and I really started going into like the more like um elemental stuff. So I read Elements of Style. I went into really started like thinking this is something that I need to be concise with my language and what I'm talking about, and that I don't need to write like every little detail of things. I could leave
Yeah.
that to the imagination. And I
Mhm.
think for me, that was probably the hardest thing for doing, because it's like it makes it so much more active. And then when you're going through and you're trying to set yourself a word count for stuff, like I think a good chapter is probably between um like 4,500 4,500 words to like 5,000 words.
So
And
I go
I
by
try to
pages. I go by
yeah, that
pages.
too. But I was just trying to like keep it on there, and then it's like I was trying to get my prologue down to close to, I think, 25. I don't remember what it is now, but it was really hard, and you're just like looking at every over single word, and like utility of language kind of comes in, and that to me was probably the hardest. Kill Your Darling Things was just saying this style that I just kind of came up myself, and yeah, it was probably influenced a lot by like fan fiction and stuff, which is like ugh. But
Well, you know who's the worst influence, and I think you'll agree when it comes to that? Jordan. His attention to detail on
oh yeah,
everything.
yeah,
He
definitely.
is a horrible influence on others, because that I got too influenced by him when I was doing stuff at one point. It's like, wow, I'm spending way too much time trying to describe clothing. I'm not good at it. I shouldn't do it. And
Yeah,
or
you know what? Honestly, I don't think he was either. He had like some interesting like personal fetishes that I'm not gonna lie about, and a lot of the clothing is very impractical. And I know this from like historical reenactment standpoint. Like you ain't gonna have freaking buttons on the back of your dress. It's uncomfortable, and you need servants to put it on. So
so he was you can agree, he's a bad influence on writers. If you're thinking about description, don't go his route. It's too much sometimes. It's just a
Mhm.
little too
or the
much.
J.K. Rowling thing where she just uses
Nothing.
tons of adverbs and stuff. You know
Oh
what the
Yeah,
God.
bad
nothing.
thing now is, like so many like authors are just like I read their published work and it reads like fanfic. Like there's it's so like superfluous, and like the language is so imprecise. It's very passive. I'm just like
It's very
Lady
flat,
B,
yeah.
I had to say, first of all, your mama is top tier. That's first and foremost.
yeah,
She's
my
top
mom's
tier.
mom, and she's golden.
Yeah, she's great. I remember we spoke about her before, and how she likes my work. So your mom is good in my book. I love her.
I
She
know.
gives me
I
no
gotta
wrong
give her.
vibe.
I gotta finish reading the comic books because I did get them and I'm very excited. But what I wanted to try to do is get I have a second camera, and I was going to do like a page by page review of it. So
Oh,
I need to get back on my video grind. But I'm very excited to read it, and I'm definitely gonna let her read it too. So
yeah, by all means, because
she's
like I go and mom saw your interview and stuff, and she was hyped. I like that. My mom was good about book, and everything she said to you was absolutely correct. The
Yeah,
idea
you write
of
like a woman.
writing like a
I know.
woman,
I thought it was the funniest thing because it's true. I mean, she's her favorite thing to read is like kind of like murder mysteries, like spy action thriller
Mm.
novels, very like toxic masculinity. So um she really enjoys that. But when it was funny because she thought it was so offensive, and I'm like, well, what do you mean by this? And then she told me, and that's when I started working with my editor, and he just got me like he kicked my ass. He said like, oh, this is really stupid. Like this is dumb. Like you need to change that. And I really thank him for that. And he's really
Sometimes you
helped
need
me.
tough love. You need tough love
Yeah, and
sometimes.
that was something a lot of people wouldn't do. And I had another teacher that was like that, a screenwriting teacher, and I took a couple different classes from him, and he was the same way. It's like, look, this is just you can do better. Think about this. Like,
Mhm.
get into it.
Well, JB in the chat actually highlighted something about kill your darlings. Is what makes it so difficult is sometimes you do have to stick to your guns. Sometimes you are right to not kill your darlings. That's why it's never a clear-cut scenario. It has to be situation by situation because Tolkien, one of the most famous examples of his editors, is when he went to his editors, he's like, no, you spelled dwarf wrong throughout the entire thing, or dwarves. It's FS at the end of it. And Tolkien's like,
No,
I wrote the dictionary. It's VES.
VES. It's
I
VES.
wrote the
Tolkien
damn
said,
dictionary. Are you
yeah.
telling me how the English language is written? And it's really only because of him that it would have become FS if it hadn't been Tolkien
Well,
saying,
Tolkien
"No,
was right.
I'm right."
Tolkien's right.
So
I know.
Dwarves.
I
you
had
have
a
to be
few
right.
moments like that where I'm like, I am not changing this. I
Mhm.
like it, or it needs to happen this way. And
Part of the beauty of making your own shit is making your own rules. It's
Yes.
part of the beauty of it. It's like, hey, no, this is my world, my universe. I'm gonna spell something this way. Is the way it's gonna be spelled. And if other people want to adopt it after that, then that's me affecting the culture. But
yeah,
it's my universe, my rules.
I know. I was
Makes
trying
sense
to
to
think
me.
of something like that, or it was like something where I'm definitely like, I'm not changing this. You know, one of the things that I did change, that was probably one of my kill the darlings thing, is that I changed how the magic system worked, and I really didn't want to give up the initial system I had, which was kind of like, you know, when someone says like good vibes only or something, I was going with the idea that everything had like an energy frequency. And like, I think when I started writing, like, it didn't quite work like I needed it to work or something like that. So that was something that I ended up changing. But that was really hard because I like the idea, because it is kind of like tied to science, and I like the idea of the music stuff, but ultimately it just didn't work out.
Yeah, it takes time to find your system that always, especially when you're dealing
Yeah.
with either action or fantasy genre. This is one of those things that go hand in hand with it too, because you get to set your own rules, but um, trying to find the right element to work with how your magic system would work is a challenge in of itself, because it has to work within the universe and how you process information. So it has to work that way. Individuals that deal with realism don't have to deal with that type of aspect. When you're dealing with something that's supernatural, you have to pretty much put it in a layman's way to be explained logistically without it being logistical, which is a fine balance of nonsense. But once you have it right, it'll flow like milk and
Yeah,
honey.
probably the hardest thing for me to do is like, I'm not like, I know a lot of like writers will just, they start something and they're not really sure about how it works. Like with George R. R. Martin, I think there's magic in his stories, but I don't think he ever just sat down and said, these are the rules for this magic system. I don't think he generally like legitimately knows.
Because he didn't
And
care.
yeah, he didn't really care. So when I
Yeah.
thought about it, it's like, just for my own peace of mind, because I know I'm going to have like problems if I don't understand this, just because one of the bad things with having fibromyalgia is I have like I forget stuff, and there's things that it's really ingrained with me that I learned before I had this problem, like writing and stuff. Like I didn't know that stuff, but like I will forget details about stuff. So I've really focused on trying to make the system first or write the backstories. So I always have that somewhere accessible. So where if I forget, I can go back to it, or I kind of also find too that I understand stuff a lot better, or I'm able to write about it more coherently if I understand it better myself. So I have been
Exactly.
working really hard to make a magic system that makes sense, that's really elegant and simplistic, and that's actually like what I ended up doing was taking the original idea of different frequencies and kind of elemental I magic, you know, the five elements
Sure.
kind of thing. And what
Sure.
I did is I changed it so based on some Forgotten Realm stuff, and said it takes life energy to use the magic, and it's elemental, but it's elemental according to how much energy, or like what your energy source is. So like use heat energy and stuff like that. So it's a different concept that I don't think I've ever read before, but it's also a lot simpler, where basically half a page describes how the magic works. So it'll be a lot easier for me to write about in the future.
Yeah,
That's
and
one
whenever
thing.
you lock that down, whenever
Yeah.
you made your final stand, like, hey, I'm happy with this, I'm comfortable with this. This
Yeah.
is how we're doing it. Do not let anybody make you deviate from that formula, because once you have a formula that works, you know how it works. Somebody, like, let's just say an editor, because usually that's the editor. The first thing they're going to say, like, hey, well, I don't really get it, but if you know how this is supposed to work out and how it's going to be flushed out in your story, stick to your guns. Like Adam said earlier, stick to your guns. Roll with
Yeah.
it.
Well, that's something that I had to stand up to my editor for because I do a ton of foreshadowing for the 5th book because all 5 books takes place in a single year. So I've got to do setup for the final book as I go along. And they're like, what is this reference to this thing? I don't get it. Who is this lady that you're talking about? It doesn't seem to affect things. Like, no, this is essential. I've got to, can't kill that darling.
That's that's the failing of, in my opinion, editors. They don't get it a lot of the time. They're here to catch your grammatical errors,
That's
but they
all.
don't. They're not there to write it for you. And that's, I mean, I am my own editor. I mean, I maybe it's not the best thing in the world, but I am my own editor because I have spent, like it or not, quite a long time in the academic world writing thick ass papers
Mhm.
that have to be part of presentations, stuff like that, and get graded, and borderline thesis at some point. So I'm very adept at editing grammar and stuff like that. So in my case, and I go, maybe I'm an anomaly, maybe somebody say, dude, you need an editor. I don't really need one. Now, when it comes to content, that's different. That's why I have a handful of pre-readers. Okay, you guys are here to check. You're here to edit me creatively. Just tell me, does this make sense? Is this flowing? That's, to me, the most important editing, because
Mhm.
spell checker will catch it you're spelling wrong. If you've been working like me on enough papers long enough, writing long enough, you know proper grammatical structure at this point. You're not going to make any mistakes. The only thing ever people can question is apostrophe S and possession. No S after something ends in S or not. I say no. If a name ends in S, no S after it.
Mhm.
But then again, that there's a split belief in that, and it changes all up. So that's the
Well,
closest thing.
ellipsis are the same thing. Very
Yeah,
divisive on how to use ellipsis.
I'll use a
Right.
dot. I'll
Oh
use it
yeah.
and kiss my ass. I'm gonna use it.
And there's been a
It's
lot of
it's
like
an
changes on
emphasis.
that stuff. Like
Well,
it's very
yeah. It's like,
But
do
you
you
know, but
put spaces between them? Do you put a space after them? Do you just put a space before them? I've heard a lot of different schools of
yeah,
thought on ellipses. I have my own personal way
yeah.
I apply them consistently, but
But to
heard a lot
me,
of
the most
people.
important editor is the pre-reader, because they're
Hmm.
going to tell you, how does this feel when you're reading it? How does it feel? It doesn't won't feel right. Did this fight feel right? Does this interaction feel right? And I've gotten saying, the way so and so is referring to so and so, it didn't feel good. Can you go back and look at that? Or why did you do this here? You forgot something. You forgot. Or perfect one. You, I'm gonna beat you. I'm gonna beat you. I will. I could tell Mustang to go beat you. Okay, he knows where you live. Um, I love you, Jerm. No, one of the best things a pre-reader caught in the book Jed is checking out for me right now is in chapter 2. I keep referring to something, the name of a mountain range, but to me, I knew it was a mountain range. But he said to me, "Dude, you haven't told us those are mountains."
Hmm.
But I kept referring to them by their name in the world, and I realized, ah, yeah, nice catch, thanks. Thanks for making sure that the perspective was correct. See,
Hmm.
that is what I need the most, to make sure that something that I've been working on so long, I know like the back of my hand, is the
yeah.
same as they're going to see, or maybe the inside of my hand is they're going to see it the same way when I go like this, to make sure everybody lines up. And that's and a grammatical editor might not have caught that, but a real reader, the people you want to enjoy this, they'll catch it because they're wanting to get pulled into your world, and they realize, why does he what is this name he keeps using? And they said, and then they asked me, I said, "Oh, those are the mountains, but you didn't let us know those are mountains, because I've always
Yeah.
known they were mountains."
Hmm.
I know like
So
the feeling there. That
so
happens a lot
now,
when you start editing it too. I think the thing with me when I went back into style, it wasn't like I had issues with grammar. It's like it's actually like a writing style where it's like what kind of diction are you using? How are you
Hmm.
making your
Be-
sentences.
Don't, you got to be so careful. Don't slip into modern vernacular. I mean, you just got to.
I have to say that is one of my hugest pet peeves. I have looked at some more modern fiction. One was a modern fantasy story that I just stopped reading because I'm like, this is amateur level writing, and I find this unacceptable. The second one that I started and didn't finish reading was like the modern vernacular. It's like, I'm sorry, if you're trying to create like a fantasy world that even if it's not like European or whatever, like don't describe things like your hat is shaped like broccoli, or like there were some other things the characters said that were just really stupid, or like I almost was I'm such a purist on this that like reading The Witcher, I was like, do I like all the cursing in this? And I was like, I don't know.
I say go the way of Jordan and make up your own.
I like
words.
made up curse words. And the
Use
funny
something.
thing is in my world, it's like I kind of made up a religion, and I'm still using the religion structure that I have, and that everything is kind of based upon this sort of like Earth Mother, Sky Father religion. So if like they cremate their dead, so it's like you want to insult or you want to say something kind of insulting, you'd be like, bury me or something like that, or like you dirt worshiper or something like that. So
one of the most important things that I didn't realize I did, unfortunately, I didn't really do it in the current draft of the book. Somebody mentioned don't use the word okay. If you're writing, and
that was one of the
as soon as I heard,
Brandon
as soon as I heard that,
crap in like the end of like Wheel of Time.
When somebody said that, I thought, wait a minute, have I done that? Because it might be on. It's sometimes I would say it's unconscious. It's not done consciously. And I went back and quickly did a research in the manuscript Jed has it now, only 3 times in 245 pages, only 3 times. So
wow, that's good.
I was good. I was good, but it was unconscious. It's one of those unconscious things, and again, that's where an editor may be helpful. They'll catch, like, dude, you used okay, don't use that. And when you and also now this is one I've learned on my own. Certain words you don't need. The word just.
Oh, I do that so much. Just is like my freaking word. It drives me crazy. Or another word you don't need in that, like also a Sandersonian, is anyway.
Yeah.
It drives me crazy. I can't stand that. It's like, anyway. So I'll have somebody talking and like, well, anyway.
My word was so much more basic, bitch, than that. When I first started writing a decade ago, the word I overused was as. I just used as way too much. Like it's like I don't know how I want to end this sentence. Instead of using like a semicolon or doing, I just like as and just keep going.
The best thing is you go looking at it, you realize you take that word out, it still works just fine.
Who doesn't love a good simile? Who doesn't?
Here's the thing: your best friend, one of my best friends, is Google word plus synonym. Get a nice big list. Because repetition is also another problem. You realize I just said that same word 3 sentences ago. I can't say it again. Synonym. Boom.
Yeah, fixed. I do that a lot too.
Yeah. And then using the what is the I can't remember the shortcut, but like the search function, and then checking for like adverbs and stuff like that.
Yeah, those are great too. Well, for me, I think I kind of have a different my writing, my current book is a little bit different than a lot of yours because I have many crutches to lean on. Like it's a modern telling, so I have Earth to deal with and our current stuff like Dre does. But unlike Dre, he had to build his own magic system, his own power system. I'm relying on the ancient myths and the modern interpretation of Greek mythology. I'm relying on that. And even swearing, like I loved researching ancient Greek swear words and incorporating them into my story. Like I don't know why I started using it because of how much I love it. But a classic swear word from Greece was malakas.
Yes, yes. That's I was Jed. Why was I just thinking about that? That's absolutely insane. That's the same word that was in my head this whole time. Proceed.
That is a good word.
Proceed. That is great. It's kind of not YouTube safe, but it's basically a goat fucker.
Oh, okay. I okay.
It's basically, but when talking about that, sometimes I do rely on it too heavily. It's kind of a battle for me, and probably the worst case of kill your darlings for me is the most important thing in my story is being as accurate to Greek mythology as possible because I feel like it's never been done, and it's so personally close to my heart that I feel like I need to do that. but at the same time, am I relying on it too much? So finding that balance of, I don't want to go the Percy Jackson route where it doesn't resemble Greek mythology in any way, shape, or form besides the names, and I don't want to go so far that I'm just recreating stuff and not having anything original. So it is a very, very difficult balance. And the worst of it is when I incorporate the modern application of Greek myths as a religion. They use the Homeric hymns for everything. That is like the default way to worship. And I include a lot of them, but it's like, this is how they would do this specific ritual in the book. This is what they would do right now for a death scene with the silver coin, the funeral pyre, and this specific Homeric hymn. But at a certain point, it's like, I've already used the hymn to Thanatos 3 times in this book. Do I really need it again? And so that was the hardest kill your darlings that I went through, because I wanted the accuracy of modern Greek religion, but I just couldn't justify doing it that repetitively. And it just killed me every single time. But these are long. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Homeric hymns. Like the big one, which is the first Homeric hymn, is 1,000 words. And you can't just randomly have someone pray that in the middle of a scene. It's too distracting, but it's like, it's so good that I justify it once in the first 2 books. I only get a chance to use that specific one once, but I would love to do it more. That's my big darling that I have to kill too often.
I think going forward, one of my big darlings is going to be not getting too far ahead of what I want to do.
Oh
like,
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
so
That's
I'm
like
so
what I did be.
I want to get to certain stories so much, but with what I'm doing, I have to lay the foundation work. And at the same time, when I get to those stories, they have to be completely rewritten from the ground up. The basic framework's going to still be there. The events are going to be the same, but a lot of things have to be pulled out and replaced with what I've created in the interim. So I have to keep realizing, don't rush this story, don't rush that story. And I think maybe we can, the whole kill your darling thing is, it's the reverse of it, actually. Don't ruin don't half-ass what you're working on now just because you want to get to what you really want to get to. And I think the best cure for that is, for me anyway, is remember why you're doing it. Put yourself into those characters, fall in love with them all over again, the new ones creating, and understand this story you're telling. And for me, the way I do it is, again, the reverse of the kill your darling is get those Easter eggs in there, get those stingers, get those seeds planted. That's part of going back to the earlier discussion at the beginning of the stream. Part of what makes a second act fun for me, the way I get through a second act, is the characters. I stick to what they're doing. I make myself completely into them. I find scenes and moments that I fall in love with, and that keeps me from getting bored in a second act. And the same thing can be said going in stories that you have to do before you get to the ones you really want to do. Find those moments that you love, that you're excited for, and are essentially, for me at least, seeds that are going to bear fruit later on.
Oh, for sure.
That's where you do the reverse of kill your darling. You make sure you get that thing in there that makes it interesting, that then 3 books later or 2 series later, because a series can, like this first series, 4 to 5 books. I'm still waffling on whether or not I need the 5th book or not. That's a kill your darling right there. Do I have enough in I want to do a 5th book, but is it going to be too much filler?
Oh, I know exactly that struggle.
Originally, this was 5 books, so do I really need a 5th book? Don't know. Gonna find out I'll know when I get to book 4.
I want to keep it at 3 books, and I don't want to have like huge, like multiple inches.
But here's the thing.
Thick book.
This first series, it's 4 to 5. The next one, just 2. The following one, just 2. The one after that, kind of a 1 or a 2. The foundation ones, but then suddenly it's going to get to a point where it's single shots, it's one shots, but they're all connected. And then that's going to be the game for a very long time. And it's all about the moments that you've planted. You get to those faraway books, and it's going to go, oh shit, he did that way back then. I remember that. Or damn, that's what all that shit is about. That's why.
Yeah, that's kind of
Or-
like my prologue. It's like the rest of the book is not going to be anything like that prologue, and the whole mystery of like what is going on there, who's doing this, what are these creatures is there, and I'm just like, I'm kind of like, I've changed so much that now I have to know which of like, do I have to change that, or like how do I make this story fit in with the rest? I think it's okay as it is, but you know, that's where I'm at, is just looking at like the two chapters I had. I have like the prologue in chapter 5, and I'm like, is that still gonna work this chapter 5? Because the person, it's like you meet the bigger bad guy like through the lesser bad guy, and I'm just like, I'm kind of changing the characterization of the big bad guy, and I'm just kind of like, do I have to go and change some smaller things? Can I keep him like this? And I don't know. That might be something I have to ditch or like considerably rewrite. I don't know.
Well, you might not have to change it if you can still find a way to mount the big bad as an even bigger threat. You can
yeah.
actually have like the little bad guy be like you can have him be the big bad without the protagonist knowing he's the big bad.
Oh yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. They don't know.
You
I
know what I'm
mean, the
saying?
thing I was thinking of is that I'm kind of changing like the motivations of the big bad guy. So
Mhm.
I would have, it would be just me looking at like the dialogue, and I'm like, if this is how he sees it, because I was looking at the character alignment thing from D&D where they're like, is this person like the word like lawful, neutral, and all that stuff, and I was thinking of trying to give this guy a more nuanced characterization where he thinks he's doing the right thing, and he is very like duty focused to his own people, but that just kind of puts him like in complete opposition to the protagonist because like they need to do their thing. And so I'm try to make it so I don't want to say this guy needs a necessarily a redemption arc, but that his motivations are understandable for the story,
Yeah.
if that makes
Yeah, that's
sense.
fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't have to have a redemption arc just to have a relatable villain.
Those are the
Oh
best
yeah,
To
no.
make
villains.
it to like for like keep it something as simple as I can. Somebody can be doing what they believe is right, but what they're doing is detestable. And
Yeah,
so
That's
that's
they
kind
always
of,
the
yeah.
example of that.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that would be a perfect way of doing it without them having, because like you can look and be like, okay, I see where he's coming from, but you're doing horrific things. Like for
Yeah,
instance,
it's
really
like keeping consistent characterization, I think. Like that's a
exactly.
better way to
Like
say.
for instance, to be a really easy one is Thanos.
Yeah.
Thanos
Mhm.
engaged. You could look at the comic story arc or the movie version. He engaged in absolutely horrific ideology and ordeals of eliminating trillions and trillions and trillions of lives. Horrible, absolutely detestable. When you see why he's doing it, you get where he's coming from, but it doesn't detract about how horrible the things that he's doing.
Oh yeah,
So that's
definitely,
a good
because
way
it's
you
not
can
going to
do it.
help the protagonist at all. Like,
Exactly.
so
I
Exactly.
love villains like that because similar how you're talking about, Atlas is the main villain of the first one and Kronos, but the big bad, her name is Chaos, and it's not a physical battle between the hero and her. It's more of a philosophical one because she has relatively altruistic motives because she wants to take away all human pain and suffering. That is her ultimate goal. And everyone who's experienced hardship in their life can relate to that. It's like, wouldn't it be nice if I didn't have to do that, if I didn't have to feel that? And it's because we're all her children. In Greek mythology, she's the originator or the progenitor of the entire universe. It all comes from her. Or I made it her initial suicide attempt, but it was something different in Greek mythology, but still from her. And that's what makes it with the hero is so philosophical because he has more pain than nearly anybody else he's ever met. And so why should he be opposed to this villain who wants to take that all away from him to try to make him happy? But she
oh
does it
totally.
by creating a utopia. In the purest definition of the word, according to Thomas More, utopia is actually not a good thing.
Yeah,
It's
it's
very
not.
much an emotionless place. That's the big thing about a utopia is that humans aren't, there's no humanity in humans left in a utopia. And so that's what she's delivering is utopia will descend. And so you feel for her. You're like, yeah, wouldn't it be nice? But you're doing something that will ultimately lead us to no longer be humans. And it's more important to fight for the soul of humanity rather than the life of humanity or the pain of humanity because it's all about the dead. living humans, she's not going to touch them. It's all about what you do with the souls. And so it's all about what's the right afterlife. And so it's kind of, I really tried to do a very different conflict and different stakes than a lot of the other stuff I read. And yet those are always my favorite villains, is the ones that you can understand, you relate to, but they're just irredeemable. A good redemption story is good occasionally. I have a couple of them as well, but just the ones where you're
Yeah,
just like,
like
oh, I can't wait
kind
for
of
you
like
to
the
go
big
down.
bad guy in chapter 5. I don't think he's gonna be the big. He's definitely not the big bad guy in the first book. Like the big bad guy is somebody I don't think anyone is going to know who this person is, and I am not going to ruin it because I think it could work out as a very cool surprise. But
And I
this
think you should
guy,
do that. I think that formula will work very well for you. As in, there's a big bad that everybody thinks is the big bad, but it's really just a minion. I think
yeah,
that will
yeah,
work
he's
out
not
really well. Yeah.
even like a minion. He like I think the way that this guy is gonna work out is that he was raised kind of in the empire and he was kept to like control order and do his duty, and he's very strict to that, which makes him just kind of like the
Lackey.
like yeah, basically. And then the big bad is it even somebody that you would even think is part of
Yep.
the larger structure of the government? Because you're like, oh my goodness, I don't want to say more. I don't want to like screw it up.
No.
I gotta
But
like come
I
it out with
follow.
my mind. It's been a minute
Yeah.
since I've thought about this, and this was because I did actually finish my first outline, and from that outline, I got more ideas from my editor, and they were great ideas, and then it all just went downhill. But that's okay. I'll keep doing it. I'm gonna finish writing the story, and I just need to get my head back in the game. So, man, I have stuff to think about now. Shit. Ugh.
That's why I love these. They always inspire me to keep going. They reinvigorate me every month to keep doing what I'm doing.
Yes, definitely.
No, no, I'm afraid not. I did see that in some of my research. I guess it is about the same. Like the movie is about the terminology, is what I read. I've never seen the movie, but no, it's about the
Oh
writing
yeah, I
technique.
remember that movie. Okay, yeah, no, we're just talking about writing stuff.
Yeah, just writing techniques, not the movie. I don't know if it's good or not. I just saw it literally when doing research for this for the first time. But I have an article that I want to go over, kind of roundtable style. But before we get into that, are there any last things that people want to mention or examples, kill your darlings, or have we kind of exhausted that?
I don't know. I would just say that if you have something you like and you're like, I need to, and kind of this goes back to what Adam was saying about you wanting to get to something or something. It's like if there is something that is just eating at you, like a scene or something you need to do, you know what? I've just opened a new document, write what I need to write. Cause there's like different reasons why you write. You know, you might be writing for like emotional reasons, maybe you're something process something, maybe you just got a cool idea. Just write it down, keep it and save it. Like don't try to force it into your story and then come back. So that's my only advice.
Yeah, for me, it's not so much those scenes; they're set in stone. I mean, to borrow a phrase Jed knows, they're fixed points in time. I don't; they're where they are. But instead of writing them down, I put a soundtrack to them. So I locked them in place. I know the soundtrack completely creates the scene then. And I can even measure the dialogue. I've even done scenes.
I've done stuff
I've
with
done
that.
scenes to match it word for word, beat for beat. I've pulled it off. If you start at the right point, it matches up perfectly. And that's something that that at one point in member sections will be available down the line. Is I will give you what my writing soundtracks were to everything I've done at certain points. I keep the list. I have playlists.
Oh,
Of
me
what they
too.
look
I
like.
totally do.
Me too.
Yeah.
I have to be so careful about the music I listen to just as I'm writing, even if it's not something at the forefront of my mind, because it will affect. It'll
I don't.
affect.
Oh no, I don't actually listen to those when I'm writing. I have a specific. I have like 2 or 3 specific things I will put on that are completely formless to what I'm doing. They're just there to let me detach, because when I write, it may sound where I am sort of detached when I do it. I am not me. I just it's happening, and when it's done, and I sit back and it's like, okay, what did I do? What have I done here? Let's take a look. I'm not. I'm there, but it's kind of just happening.
Yeah,
It's
it's
Yeah,
interesting the
unconscious.
headspace is because with
Yeah.
my writing, since it is so personal and so emotion based, sometimes I have to relive those emotions. I call it method writing, even though it's not as fancy as that.
It's
But
a little bit
it's
that I
just
become the character. I am the
Mhm.
character when I'm doing it.
no.
That's why I feel they're very alive, is because I am them in that moment. I'm thinking them,
I
I'm
know I
breathing
had
them,
to like when I
it's
was
what they
writing my
are.
prologue, I was listening to like thunderstorm like soundtracks just to get me in the mood. I like to set like if I can find music and more I can't listen to like music that has words. It's just too much. But
Mm,
if I find something that puts me
Yeah.
in like the right kind of state, like it's energetic, or maybe it's sad, or maybe it's just like
yeah,
the
keep it on
sounds of
point.
the rain and the thunderstorm and stuff like that to kind of get me to think of what it was like, and it kind of
Mhm.
it helped me to like figure out, oh, like here's something that might have happened that I wouldn't have thought about, because like I'm like, oh, look at watching, because it had like it was a 12 hours of thunderstorms or something, and then it had like a visual on it too, and I'm like, oh, that's cool, like I didn't think of that. So
It's very interesting.
I mean,
yeah,
right
it's
here.
different.
I mean, right here. This you can see it on the side here. These are all, some of these aren't even written yet, but it's all different playlists. I mean, right here,
Oh
this
wow,
is this is literally, that's 3 hours and 14 minutes.
nice.
This covers from beginning. I mean, and this first section here, that's the intro. I do it anime style in my head. I have an intro, but in my head, I know what it looks like. But then these are character themes, like personal character themes,
Mm,
going all the way down. And then here, now we're into the story. These are moments. And this is, for lack of a better term, this is sort of my outline. I lock things into place in my memory, combining the images, music, and it goes all the way. I mean, so that's 3 hours. And this is the biggest one out of all of them. Children of Destiny, that's the biggest one out of all of them. But and then they go on, and these ones up here, these ones aren't even completed yet. These are just what they're going to be, and it's just, that's a great way to protect your darling. Protect your
mhm.
darling. Get it where it needs to be so that it's not lost on that.
Totally.
You got
Yeah,
That's
some
cool.
great stuff in there. It's a lot better
there's
than
a
my
lot of
writing
stuff.
playlist. I've got a strange propensity to sea shanties. I've got a lot of sea shanties in
Sea
my.
shanties are
Are they the sea
cool.
shanties from Assassin's Creed
Some of them are in
Odyssey?
there, but most of from Odyssey, I have one song from Odyssey. Most the ones that I have from Assassin's Creed are from Black Flag, but I have a lot of
Those are
other
fun.
ones,
Those are fun.
older ones. Like my favorite one is Wellerman. If you guys ever listen to Wellerman, that one is
I think
top
I have.
tier. I love that sea shanty. I can't play it because I actually got copyright struck or claims for it on my very first stream on this channel. It's literally like the first thing I
Freaking
did.
music gets you every time.
It does. And that
That's
was
what gets
before
you.
I knew anything about the rules or whatnot. I'm just like, ooh,
Yeah.
sea shanty.
Yeah, I found that out the hard way too. It's like, oh, this should be fun in the stream. Oh, nope, sorry. Nope.
Well, for shown playlist, yeah, mine is nowhere near as sophisticated as his, and
That's
gonna
like
make you
20
guys.
years worth of playlists. That's 20 years worth of things that I have. Some of them I haven't even gotten to. They're all just locked up here, and some scenes are set there.
But yeah,
Yeah.
I've got some random shit like Supernatural. This is from the new Edge Runners TV show. I've got some random shit in here. Mostly sea shanties. These are all sea shanties.
And then, yeah, that's the
Some
soundtrack.
country, some
Oh, God.
classic.
Country.
I'm a big fan of country. Or this is a great sea shanty. It's exactly what it sounds like. He just sings that for like 3 minutes. I'm gonna
That's a heck
fuck
of
you
a
with a
visual I
fucking
just got.
anchor.
Nice.
Some weird ones. Some Iron Maiden to make a Mustang happy. Round it out, but
Nice.
I have no standards when it comes to my music. It's literally
Me
Yeah,
anything.
well,
either. I'm
yeah,
just like there's certain things I can't listen to and write. Like if there's words in it, and probably because it's like the diction or whatever the rhythm and tempo of it,
Mhm.
like and then it just ends up going into my writing and maybe I didn't want that, or it's just I think it's also has to do with fibromyalgia because I used to listen to music with words when I would write. I just can't do it because I just don't think my brain can process like all of that at once. Which kind of
article.
sucks about having freaking like, yeah, fibro. Sucks.
Just
Bad man. Bad
Oh
man.
Lord. Oh, geez. Trank was back at it again.
And of
Poor
course, that's where he
Mimic.
jumps in at. I mention him and he arrives. You know,
He's been
speak of
here
the
the whole
devil.
time, probably.
Yeah,
Just
probably. But
sitting
that's when he
there.
decides to start chatting.
Yeah.
Well, to round off the evening, I saw this in my research for Kill the Darlings. I wanted to see if there were any good articles about specific examples of it, and there wasn't anything good beyond just the hey, you need to do Kill Your Darlings. Nothing that really broke it down in any sort of sophisticated manner, except for this blog post, which isn't giving references. It is just like everything we do on your channel on Roundtable. This is like the CBR equivalent of a writer breakdown. Like
Oh boy.
this is a
Oh,
shill. This
Wait,
is
what's CBR?
comic book
resources.
Oh, okay.
It's a very
Shill.
shill stand.
Okay.
yeah. It's one of our go-tos for crap articles that we shit on every day.
Nice.
This
Well,
is true.
and so this is hashtag wokeness in writing or
Oh
in
my
authors.
god.
Oh my! Oh,
I think I've read this. Oh my god.
All right, Adam, you've got the best shill voice. Would you like to read this?
Hmm.
You prepping yourself?
Faux salida, blah blah. Okay. Attention, writers, please refrain from using the phrase "kill your darlings." It's creepy, lazy, and I'm tired of reading it.
So from that, the sophisticated members of this panel, the intelligent members of this panel, what would you think the argument being made in this article would be after that?
Show me on the doll where we hurt your feelings.
That's what I'm thinking too.
There's going to be a lot of accusations.
Problematic.
A lot of yeah. They're going to use their favorite terms. There's going to be. I guarantee there's going to be some virtue signaling in there. There's going to have to be because they're going to say
it's going to be about probably some group is basically saying that they're offended by the term kill and the term darling because it means violence against somebody that we don't know and blah 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 yada 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 yada.
Well, you guys are pretty much spot on with the addition of the classic factual inaccuracies that we get in a lot of these articles. But
it's like we've done this before.
It's very, very short. But the factual inaccuracy that really defines this piece is in the very first sentence. The phrase in writing, "you must kill all your darlings," has been attributed to rival and Nobel Prize winner William Faulkner. That is objectively false. He's the one who changed it from murder to kill, but he's not the one who originated it. So this is kind of like a basic bitch. Oh, I've heard the phrase before, but I'm writing an article
And can we
on it.
talk
I
about
went
how
to
all our
Wikipedia.
paragraphs are all like one sentence long?
Well, it's to pad the runtime. It's already over. This is
Oh
the
my
entire
God.
article.
Oh my god! I went to Wikipedia and I looked it up,
Yeah,
and that's my research.
Yeah, don't go to this woman. I think that's a woman. For advice on Kill Your Darlings, this Tin House article is actually beautiful, very well broken down, and it has the correct person. It is Sir Arthur Quiller Couch who originated the phrase, and not William Faulkner. I'm gonna say Couch,
Couch or
even if it is
couch?
Couch. I don't know, but I'm saying Couch. I'm choosing.
Got it.
Cooch.
Yeah, we know where Jed's mind is right now.
We all know.
Oh, always. Once you read my books, you'll realize it's always.
Yeah, you're a
Oh my
mongrel.
god, listen to that. Like, also, question mark. For advice about trimming your work, it's oddly over the top. If a word isn't necessary, question mark. Just erase it. No need to slaughter it. That's like
What?
not the point though. It's not about just erasing. It's taking
not
something
words.
that you are personally attached to, whether it's a bunch of words, it's a single word, I don't know, like whatever doesn't serve your story, you need to get rid of it.
I'm
Well,
willing to bet all of my action figures on my wall that this person is not a creative writer on any level.
No, I doubt this person is even really somebody that's like
teaches.
a legitimate coach.
Yeah.
Well, you know, those who can't.
Exactly. Well, she admits it right off the bat. Here we go. We actually have this first. It means when writers ruthlessly kill. All right, we have the definition already. Is this good advice? You bet it is. Most publishing work is sadly teeming with unkilled darling. So she already admits it's actually a good thing to use. She just doesn't like the word usage. She's backing the principle, but not
It's
the.
problematic.
So the phrasing is what she has an issue with, not the action.
Because
Go. Oh God. I this is why I hate everything. Like I miss the old days. It's precise language. It's precise language. We don't have to guess. We know what it means. Kill means get rid of. Plain and simple. We
I'm
don't have to do all this.
triggered.
Oh well, maybe kind of remove, erase with a slight mustard seed. No, you idiot! Kill it. It's gone. We move on.
I know it kind
hate
of
when-
like it's killed too for a reason. There's a reason why they use that word and not like edit or something like that, because most
edit
writers,
your darlings.
yeah, it's like they have something that they're desperately
That's what
in
I call
love with.
dating a
And
crazy woman.
Indeed.
yeah, I mean, you're like, you have this character, or maybe it's a scene, and you're like, I love this, and you do everything to try to save it, but the best thing you can do to it sometimes is just to kill it. Just to axe it, like get it out there. It's
Burn it with fire, like Baby Yoda.
Burn it with fire. Yes.
Exactly. Well, so she says while she's coaching her clients, she every day tells them to do this. They kill countless darlings, but she absolutely refuses to utter this phrase. Apparently, she's worked with hundreds of writers. That's quite an impressive feat. I'm gonna say I haven't worked with hundreds of writers. I'm gonna admit that I'm not as sophisticated as this Ross
Roz
Warren.
So it looks like.
Warren. Sworn. It's the email. But yeah, that's what she's worked with hundreds of writers over
what's her
3
name?
decades.
Roz Warren.
Roz Warren.
All right.
I'm curious.
Whatever.
I don't.
Dummy McIdiot.
Why does she refuse to use this phrase? Because I don't want to tell anyone to kill anything, even if it's just words and characters and phrases. Killing creeps me out and like stuff. It's meanie. It's meanie.
So
come
we got a
on, she writes
vegan?
for the New York Times. Like,
Yeah, I just
that's
looked her up, too.
propaganda.
Yeah,
Jesus.
congratulations. Congratulations, you have zero credibility, lady.
Yeah, bye.
And she doesn't even offer a substitute phrase. She doesn't offer anything up in exchange. She says, just don't use it. It's like,
I mean,
also,
okay, then what are you telling her students or whoever? What are they telling? What is
she just
if
uses
she's
the
using
definition every time.
But my thing is this: if she's using a substitute or the action itself, but not saying the words, what is she telling these people to use?
Be better.
Okay, got it. All right,
Be
just
better.
making sure we're on the same page. Just
Be
making sure I
better.
didn't miss something. Okay, she's an idiot. Got it. All right, perfect.
She's an idiot. But she does point out something in this next sentence because she doesn't know what paragraphs are. That is kind of the reason I wanted to talk about it, because Kill Your Darlings has been misappropriated a lot with like the Last Jedi, the Lord of the Rings arguments. That's why I wanted to talk about it and try to clarify it a little bit. She says, finally, Kill Your Darlings has become a big whopping writing advice cliche. And she is right to a certain extent, but in not the way that she thinks. It's become a cliche in the wrong ways. Like with The Last Jedi, thinking that was the only problem with it, or that was a big thing I heard with Rian Johnson always, is he doesn't know how to kill his darlings. But that's actually a good thing. I heard an argument where like he proves the rule false. That was an argument I heard about the Knives Out movie, specifically the first one. And so it is a cliche, but for the wrong reasons. And that's why I wanted to highlight all this and, mock her for a little
And
bit at
she
the end
says
for fun.
absolutely nothing here. She says
know.
nothing.
I'm
I mean,
confused.
My
I-
farts more have character than this. Have more
Like
character than
my
this.
thing is this: whatever's misconstrued about Rian Johnson, that's his only problem. No, that man has a laundry list of problems. Like literally, the city dump cannot hold all the problems that gentleman has.
Can't hold his head. It's too big.
No, that's for daggone sure. But here's the issue with Miss Warren. First of all, she doesn't know what she's talking about. Second of all, she's stupid. Third of all, she's never written anything. If you understand the gravitas and the rawness of the creative writing process, and to think that the idea of killing something that you hold dear that you wrote down on that page is not the proper term, you do not have a grasp on the English language. You don't have a grasp on the Latin language. You don't have a grasp on the ghetto language. You have no idea what you're talking about. If you think that for 1 second that the term kill is inappropriate in that form of the creative writing process, you have no idea what you're talking about. I am not a professional chef, so I would not go to Adam and tell him how to make his food.
I would.
That's fine. But
Keep
I
the
would
Parmesan cheese out of my kitchen.
Yeah. See, but this is an individual that has no clue on what they're talking about, and is going to try to set rules for a medium that she knows absolutely nothing about.
But she's an
It's
editor.
insanity.
She's an editor for New York Times.
Maybe she's one of those like I know that MS Word was like rolling this out where it could check for like sexism or whatever in your language. Have you seen that? It's kind of dystopian. Maybe
Oh,
she's
God.
one of those
Crazy.
like Fifi editors. Like, this is problematic.
Oh, I hate that word. Like the words that are so overused to the point of meaning
it has
nothing.
no meaning.
Yeah, is that one toxic?
Oof.
And yeah, toxic is really overused, problematic, and there's so many that it's just like as soon as you use that word, I'm not listening.
Inclusion is the
Oh,
other
that
one.
one as well. But I want to end up with their last two sentences real fast. Instead of parroting Faulkner, none of whose novels I've ever managed to finish, but that's another essay. Why not come up with your own way of communicating this important message? Why don't you come up with a way of communicating your own message? And you're talking about not getting through Faulkner. He's not even the one who came up with the phrase. So
Wait, hold on. Let me read this. Let me make sure my eyes didn't deceive me. None of whose novels are. So you didn't even finish the work.
No.
Get the freak out. What is
It was like this,
Gee.
like, I did a response video to this, like, with Alex from the White Cloaks, and we were, like, responding to this woman who made a response video to a video she didn't even watch.
That was what I was
those
about to
are
say.
great.
This sounds like a person who, the kind of idiots that come into our comment section, throw out an attack, but in their own words are obvious they didn't even watch the goddamn video.
Mhm.
She
Yeah,
sounds like-
it's like,
great.
well, I didn't like the title of this because it hurts my fifis and, like, God, grow up.
Preferably just one without that doesn't involve murder. Gotta
This
worry
is,
about
like,
our
but
feelings.
this is my thing.
Sometimes
If you
it's
want,
a mercy killing when you're editing, so I would say that
I hope-
murder, it's
I
debatable.
hope to meet her in Minecraft. I'm gonna say that.
Yeah. And that's
Minecraft,
all I'm
always.
saying. Now, my thing is this: if you want to be idiotic, you want to say something about something you know nothing about, give me a viable solution. She didn't give me any viable solution. She just said, "Don't use it." Okay, mommy, you told me not to use it. What are my options? If you have no
Sexist.
solutions, you cannot solve the problem. So I don't want to hear no nonsense about these people that are just saying stuff out their heads. Idiots.
She
all
is
of
the
them.
problem. She
Yeah,
is
that's
the
true.
problem.
You can't argue with that. That's true.
Yeah.
Well, it's people like her that defend Ryan Johnson. I just want to briefly tell you guys about the new Knives Out movie. Do you think it's a good twist for you to find out that there's a secret twin who found out her twin was killed, and her twin who died happened to have dozens and dozens of in-depth journals about every second of her life, so that in a day she can take over her sister's life that she hasn't seen in 20 years and know every intimate detail of her life so perfectly that she passes in front of her close friends and family?
That's
So
dumb.
convenient.
That is the cheapest payoff of all time.
Ryan Johnson.
That's the payoff of it's not Knives Out. It's the whatever the film.
The
Glass
Glass
Onion.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
God.
yeah.
I told my mom, I was like, hey, you want to watch that movie? She's like, I started watching it and I couldn't even finish it. And that means a lot because she will sit through something that's trash.
It's so bad. I want to do a review stream on it with you guys, but it's kind of past its time. But
Yeah.
it is idiotic. The big twist isn't that. That's not the big twist. It's all dumb, so we're actually smart. That's basically what Ryan Johnson said. Is the whole movie's dumb, and that makes me a genius. It's purposely stupid, so he's smarter than everybody
it's
else.
She-Hulk all over again. Okay, yep, that's enough for me. Yeah.
Or that's
all I
like,
need.
you know, writers can't write people that are smarter than them.
Yep. I just had a very, very horrible flashback the moment you said those words. Oh my goodness. I got
think Venus
PTSD from that
112
daggone show.
I think Venus 112 is having the same mistake of the definition I think that I had when we originally did this in the chat there.
Yeah, I don't know.
We're not talking about death. We're talking about Jed. You explain it. Go ahead.
Yeah, so killing your darlings isn't about killing your characters at all. It's merely killing a scene, a moment, a piece of dialogue that you really like, but your objective side of your brain knows it doesn't work. It's something that you love, but you just know it doesn't work, so you have to remove it, get it out of there. It's just killing your darling, killing something that you love for the overall cohesiveness of the plot is kind of the basic definition of it. And so it's a difficult thing to do and a difficult balance, because sometimes you shouldn't kill your darlings, but you need to know when to do it and when not to do it. And I want to finish off with a relevant example of what should have been a kill your darling scenario. I don't. I know the other two didn't, but Dre, did you happen to partake of the wondrous show premiere, The Last of Us?
Oh no, oh no, Jed. As I've said at the end of last year, I'm done watching garbage. I've had my fill. 2022 hurt me in ways that cannot be recovered. So I'll leave it up to you, fine gents that are sacrificing your bodies and minds,
Oh, I'm not
and just
watching
let
it.
me know what
Yeah.
happens.
My channel, I asked the channel, and they said, no, you don't have to. So I didn't.
Well, the example I want to give is in the video game, they jump right into the action. You get maybe 5 minutes before the zombie apocalypse happens, but you in those 5 minutes, in actually 30 seconds, you immediately understand the characters, their relationships, their motivations. It's some of the best writing I've ever seen is those initial 30 seconds of the game. In the show, they opt for a 20-minute prologue, 25-minute prologue about the daughter of the main character who gets killed before during the zombie apocalypse before 20 years later, and it's literally just her wandering around places with no expression on, being like, I'm at school now. Everyone see I'm a normal girl. Oh, I need to go buy birthday present. I go to store. Oh, my dad said I need to say hi to old lady down the street. I say hi. And it's just like this self-masturbated, nonsensical,
Ooh.
bloated
I
horror.
heard
It's
that they
just
like changed the mechanics of the thing too, like right because it's
Mhm.
Last of Us has got the spores and all that
Yeah.
stuff, and they don't have that at all in it.
Yeah, the spores are one of the reasons why it was such a quick global takeover and provided some of the best horror aspects of the game. Claustrophobic, you got to have your gas mask on, sneak around through their nest. Instead, they made it tendrils that come out of the zombie's mouth. So zombies aren't biting you for the teeth part; they're biting you so that their spaghetti monster things coming out of their mouths can stab you.
Ugh.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that is a kill your darling moment. I have scenes like that where like I want to get to know the character before the action starts. That is a legitimate thing to want. But
Oh yeah.
because of the way it was written, where it didn't actually give anything to the characters, that was a darling, it looks like, for the creatives that should have been killed. We didn't need this 20-minute aside that provided nothing. And like I nearly do the exact same thing actually. In the middle of my first book, I introduced a new character, Clara, who she's going to be instrumental in the series going forward, one of the most important characters. But I wanted to show a day in her life before we got to meet her normal life. Then it gets destroyed by the bigger consequences of being in a mythological world. And so I show what she does on a daily basis, but I specifically include decisions that she has to make that'll play in later. It's like, what type of person is she? What type of skills does she have? And what are the relationships that'll define her character? Like, I actually try to include stuff, and I feel like I did it to enough of ability to justify that darling of mine. And so it is a legitimate thing they tried to do, but in execution, it was just done so poorly that Last of Us needed to cut. It was 80-minute long episode. They took out all the action in the middle part that was supposed to be there in favor of walking around slowly with no expression. That actress doesn't know what a facial expression is.
I know,
Jed,
she's so strange looking.
you just reminded me that I did the same thing. I mean, the beginning of the story, Guardian, the chapter it starts in now, originally that was chapter 3, where it starts in the version you're reading. I originally took our second main character, Jania, and I went through her day of the life in the beginning because I thought that would make her more accessible to the reader. That you can see, oh, look how peaceful it is, how she's normal, her life. This she just lives in the middle of nowhere, has a nice family, get to know them, so that when the horror begins of the burning of Kodra, it's shocking. And then I come back all these years later, realize, yeah, that's a slow ass start. Let's jump into the middle of the carnage.
Oh yeah, that's
And
just
then
what I do.
and
That's
then
always been like, oh, they're just gonna throw you in the ocean and just like,
and
let you figure it
and
out.
then if I'm going to show her how it looked like, I can do it in a nightmare sequence later to show how it was, and then have the dream turn into the nightmare of here's the reality, as to get that goodness of it. And then throughout the story, instead of having those characters there, have her refer to what her life used to be like, to the good things, to the warm things, to the lessons she learned from her parents, to how they behaved with life.
Mm-hmm.
But I had to kill that. I killed that darling because it was too slow a start, and it doesn't get you in.
I was just like, one of the darlings that I had to kill was this idea that like the whole thing started one time when I gone to the one of the faraway libraries with my mom, and I don't even know how it came up. I'm like, what if people herded dragons instead of cows? And I just thought, oh, that could be so cool. And I kind of came up with all these different types of dragons people might have, and then I'm like, this is so cool, but what does that have to do with the story? And why not just have cows? Because
Or I've seen, I forget what series it is. It's a fantasy series, and there are dragons in it, but then there's a lower tier of species that's been domesticated.
oh yeah,
They're
I
not
had all
used.
sorts of like 3 different levels. There were the ones that were herded and they couldn't fly and they weren't very big, and then there were the big semi-wild ones, and people used to fly them, and then there were the full-on like fire-breathing water dragons that were very difficult to tame, but you could find them. So I had to kill that early on because I'm like, this is cool, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Well, I don't think I explained it well enough. So I need to show you guys an image of this. This is the most expressive she gets in 20 minutes. She just walks slowly from the bus, and she's like, "Oh, sprinklers."
Who is
And
this?
this is the main character's daughter who
Race swapped
dies.
too.
Yeah,
Race
yeah,
swapped.
race swap, who dies at the beginning of the game, and then it's 20 years later. Most of the story takes 20 years after the apocalypse. But yeah, she just like randomly like comes home, and she's like, "Oh, the sprinklers are on. I'm gonna stand here for 30 seconds and touch the water." And this is the most expressive she gets in her entire time, besides her death.
And
So
the funny thing
they put a
is,
baby in there that couldn't act, and they
actually,
gave
she's
her no
18 years
direction.
old. That's an
How old is she?
18-year-old right there. 18.
She's 18 now.
Well, so
The
at the point of
characters-
filming, she's like what, 16, probably.
17. Probably.
Yeah, the character's younger. In the game, she was 9, but they never said how old she was. I'm guessing she's 14 character-wise in the show,
Mhm.
so they aged her up.
And it's just, yeah, and it's just, and the funny thing is, you got respectable reviewers like Mahler who loved this build up. He loved it. Even though he's played the game, he thought that it added the texture, and he liked it. So I mean, it's fascinating how we all come at this differently. Others I've heard say this is boring, it's pointless. Then the others who
So boring.
whose opinions I respect on review stuff say, "Oh, it was okay, it didn't hurt it." But to me, just the sound of it is dragging on.
Mm-hmm.
And why aren't we starting the story?
I feel like there was a lot of that in like House of the Dragon. That like they just wanted to have issues in there and stuff that they wanted to that didn't serve the story, things that were changing. There were definitely a lot of darlings in there that needed to get axed, and it was stuff that wasn't even in the original story. So I think with adaptations, I think especially in modern adaptations, that's a huge thing, is like when people have their little pet, like especially when it's like ideological stuff that gets thrown in there, that's a big thing you have to.
Yeah, House of the Dragon has one of the best examples of when they should have killed their darling, and it's the thing that was called out the most amongst the fans and the viewers, is the end of episode 9, when one of the characters randomly just commits like mass genocide. And
Yeah,
it's
the
supposed to be a big feminist.
thing.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a big
trying
feminist
girl boss
moment.
thing, and it's
And it's not in
stupid.
the book, from what I know. And
No, it's
in the
not.
behind the scenes, they're just like, "Oh yeah, we just wanted her to have an empowering
Yeah,
moment."
she wanted a power moment. I'm like, okay, by literally slaughtering a bunch of innocent people and then going up to the people that you should have killed, if that's what your aim was to do, and then saying, well, I'm not going to kill you because I'm a mother and I know you love your children. Meanwhile, I just killed like 1,000 people, but it's all good.
Probably a lot of them were mothers, but yeah, that is a clear example of that's a darling of theirs. They wanted that hero moment, but they didn't bother to justify it in a logical character way, and so it didn't work objectively, and so it needed to be
So
killed.
that's a really good example of that.
Trash
Well-
is what it is.
It's a lot of trash
Trash.
these days. 2023 is starting off way too strong with Velma.
It's no different. It's no
It's the
different.
same,
And it's gonna get worse. Honestly, this year's gonna be worse.
Yeah, you're right, Dre. It blends together at a certain point.
It's all
Right-
it's
right
all
now-
the same crap.
A lot of people consider the 50s to be one of the worst eras of filmmaking. While I don't agree, I believe universally the 2020s will be believed to be the worst.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No
I-
question.
And we're only what 3 years in. We can count 2020 in this case. We can count 2020 in this case because it actually is encompassing the year of material. So we're entering our 4th year of this level of media, and it's all garbage, all of it, undisputed first ballot Hall of Fame trash. I can count on one hand how many things I've actually enjoyed in this year to start it. 3 years time. Everything else has been garbage. It's over. It's over. Let's throw this decade in the trash can, and let's just.
I mean,
let's just
it's
move
so
on.
weird to see. It's like what happened that everything is like devolved. It's like how did we go from like the pinnacle of like storytelling and everything? Yeah, propaganda. That's all I can think about is that there's an ideological like subversion going on here. So
they just like what just came out. Velma just came out, and I will not lay my eyes upon that Ark of the Covenant. Okay, I'm not doing that to myself, but everybody that I've spoken to, every self-respecting person that I've spoken to, it says it's one of the worst things they've ever seen. And I think this is the first time in years that the audiences and the critics are on the same page. This is the first time I've ever seen this.
In 2 times in about a month, the internet has been united. Witcher BO, Velma.
Yeah, they were panning. The critics were panning that as well.
Yeah.
And I'm getting called out for being okay with some of the stuff in Last of Us, but not being okay with the stuff in Witcher Blood Origin. It's like Last of Us is bad, but it's not Witcher Blood Origin bad. It's not Rings of Power bad. It's 4 out of 5. It's a lot different than a 4 out of 10.
But just think about it. Just think about what you just said, Jed. We are at the point of our viewing and media consumption careers of saying, "Hey, this one isn't as bad as the other."
I have this question, and I want to make a longer video out of this, and I should just probably do it. But are we being conditioned to accept crap?
Yes.
Are we being fed? Are they? Is this a systematic destruction of everything that like Western civilization holds important? Like, are they've gone and attacked everything. They've attacked the family, they've attacked religion. Is this the last bastion? And they're going to our stories and our media because they want to replace the kind of stories that everyone grew up in and the kind of cultural like landmarks in terms of literature, film, etc., and like destroy that, so like there's nothing left and they can just fill our heads with whatever propaganda or like they want us to believe. And I think that's some interesting backstories with that in terms of
That's called Marxism.
Let me
I mean, Yuri Bezmenov, like one of the people I want to look at, like the stuff he said, why they do that, and Edward Bernays, and
every conquering nation in the history of everything is the same. You go into a country, you kill off all the men, you take all the women, and then indoctrinate all the children.
Yeah.
And then the first order of business after doing so is change the history.
Change the history, change the literature, change the language. I don't think that like language part gets talked about enough, but like holy crap, it's like it's coming out from like the top echelons of academia, and it so disgusts me as a writer, as an English major.
Well, but that's how every conquering nation works. Every conquering nation does the same thing.
In the modern day, it's not kill the men and take the women. It's erase what men and women are.
Well, I mean, but think about it, Jed. Think about it.
Emasculate the men.
They are killing off the men, and let me explain it to you this way: the emasculation of men, making men feel like they can't achieve anything. The elevation of feminist movements that tell men and young boys that they can't be anything and that they're useless and they must be subservient to females. This is how you kill the men. This is how you do it.
And this is what they do to the hot women.
What the heck is that?
Yeah, we're all looking at that right now.
That's Evangeline Lilly, the Wasp. She was in the Hobbit movies too. She's actually quite attractive.
Yeah. She's
attractive. I'm just like,
but look at that.
What the they them frick is that?
Yep.
So that's her being punished for being a free thinker about a year or so ago.
Yeah, I did a video on that. Yeah, she had some free thinker stuff that was pretty good. But
yeah,
Yep. But so the principle still
I
remains
look
the
more
same.
feminine than her.
Yeah, exactly. That's deep.
Henry Cavill thinks so too.
And but that's the thing. You now we've eliminated men for more or less. Men have no rights. We can't say anything. If we do anything, we're sexist, racist, whatever. You do that. Now that the men are gone, now we can get rid of the literature. I can get rid of the literature. Now I can come for your literature and rewrite. Literally, they've attempted to rewrite all of history. This person isn't a hero. That person isn't a hero. That writer is problematic. We shouldn't read him. Oh, that guy, he's actually not a very good person. We shouldn't listen to his music. Oh, the way he talked. Oh, back in 1826. Oh, we shouldn't listen to that anymore. It's the same thing. And now we're gonna rewrite, and now we're gonna talk like the way we want to talk. We're gonna write our stories. We're gonna put our ideology on the big screen so you can soak up all of our garbage.
We're
Lady
going to
B, it is
destroy
literally happening in
everything
front of us.
until there's nothing left to destroy. And that's what I hate about Marxism. All it does is it destroys. It doesn't create. There's nothing put back in its place except their own self-loathing and hatred. And yeah.
Yep. And that's where
You
we're
aren't
at.
wrong.
Yep. That's where we're at now. So it's
but you know
up
what?
to folks like us and other free thinking people to make a line in the sand and be like, no, I'm not going to co-sign with your nonsense. Look, I'm a theo-libertarian. I don't give a crap about what you do. If you want to go and cut off certain parts of your body or sell off whatever one, go nuts. I don't care. Keep it to yourself. And
Keep it away
I
from our
don't
kids.
give a crap. Huh?
Yeah, and it's like, don't expect us to have to like be socially.
Why do I have to champion your foolishness? No.
You gonna be all right with this?
Look,
Damn it!
my
You
word.
saw that too. You know, I resisted bringing that up. I just resisted bringing that up. But you know, point is,
Pips when you need him.
to Dre's point, they've already failed because if we right here on YouTube, this is enemy territory, but we own this enemy territory. They have no traction here. We're the ones with traction, or at least channels like ours are much larger and bigger voices. But we survive, we thrive because we know how to navigate it. They haven't won because we have our voices. They haven't stolen it. And we win more every day. And that's why they're behaving even worse every single day because it's all falling apart. Their agendas are crumbling. They're taking L after L after L. I mean, I said this last spring when the Florida bill incident happened. They're losing this. When Elon said he's going to get Twitter and he gets it, they're going to lose that. They are going to melt down. It's going to get ugly. They're going to be mean and nasty. And here they are being meaner and nastier than ever because they're afraid. They're scared because they've lost the messaging war. They have not won the hearts and minds. They've won. Their indoctrinated forces are in reality a lot smaller than the free thinking independents.
Mm-hmm.
We are a lot more resilient than they believe because they crumble. I mean, go to any Stan, any SJW, any woke-tard that comes in our comments section. You hammer them a little bit, unless they're a particular idiot who's just, you know, they fade away so quickly because they can't stand up to verbal combat. We'll just say they can't stand up to you dunking on them. They can't stand up. They're not fast enough to have a comeback. I mean, all you got to do is say groomer, and they lose their shit.
I know.
All you got to do is one of my favorites right now to use against him is blah 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 blah. So I know this makes you feel bad because you're at home and your wife's boyfriend has a real job and you don't. So nice. I mean, that's one of my favorite ones right now that I use on them. And I don't hear from these guys again. Or if I do, I don't know because you know what? I don't care. I fired and I forgot and I moved on. And it drives them crazy that I'm not sticking around to fence with them because they don't realize that I've already won because they don't bother me. I don't care. In about a day, goddamn Avatar 2 is going to hit 2 billion. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go on Twitter because now that I'm there, I'm going to go on Twitter. I'm going to say, screen cap, the budget, 2 billion. Guess I was wrong. Moving on. Because
I just don't care enough about Avatar to.
I don't care about the first movie. I don't care about the second movie.
I made so many videos that I have to say, yeah, here it is. I got it wrong. Okay, here's my L. I'm done. Not going to talk about it anymore.
I would be very disappointed, not upset, but I'd be very like depressed at the state of humanity if like the Rings of Power had done some astronomical levels that made it irrefutable, like the highest viewed TV show of all time. But I would still have admitted it. It's like I'm worried about the state of our society that this many people watch this garbage, but my predictions were wrong. But with Avatar, I don't even care.
And I don't
don't care because it's like I know the way they finagle box office numbers, and I know where they release it, and then I know it's just the foreign box office carrying it, and always a movie like that would do it. Yeah,
that's
I mean,
the conversation
once it hits China, like it's gonna be fine because there's so much A&R. It's like, is it gonna make money? I mean, what the frick is the budget for that?
We don't. Well, that's the thing.
You don't know, and so
they
it's like
claim one
it's $2 billion.
They moved the goalpost, and we don't know.
Yeah,
and
yeah, they
top
changed
it off,
it several times.
And the thing is, like you just said, it's the international that's carrying this movie domestically, and that's a conversation nobody wants to have. Domestically, it's doing worse than a Marvel movie right now, and it's kind of piddling out. It might. I mean, its domestic legs seem to be have really slowed down. Now going to this 5th or 6th week, it's slowed down. It's not. It might not hit Top Gun's domestic number. International, and know what I said at the very beginning of this? I said there are more people around the world than here in America. So of course it has it could probably bring in a lot more money worldwide. And there it is. It's happening because there are another 6.5 billion people
the US
in the world.
market doesn't like propel. It's not the top earning market for films anymore. So
yeah,
because they don't because Americans not going to the movies anymore.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much.
We gotta pay for eggs.
True.
I get a good deal at Costco. $8 for like 3 dozen or some shit like that.
Oh Jesus!
Costco. That's why wherever I live, I have to live near a Costco. My budget requires it. It just does. It does.
All right. Unfortunately, we have reached the 2-hour mark, so we're gonna wind things down. But because we mentioned The Last of Us, I have to always show this clip for the ladies. Lady B is gonna get a kick out of this. A classic Last of Us streaming moment from a Twitch streamer. This is a moment that happens partway through, near the end of the game. I don't know why this is so funny to me and everybody else. This is the first one. This is the first one. Of course, it's the first one. But
I don't know.
I don't even understand why I think this is so funny. But
that's the cutest fucking thing I've ever seen in my entire
life. That's still funny.
I don't get it, but yeah, I love it.
That looks like me playing Medieval Dynasty. Kill that goddamn bunny.
I like that.
Kill that goddamn bunny. I'm gonna kill a little bitch. Shoot her that arrow.
It's internet gold right there. Yeah, that's what the first part where you play Ellie for the first time. That's the first thing she does is kill a rabbit. There's actually some uproar about that. We don't want to see a 13-year-old kill a rabbit, and I laughed and said, "Let's kill a dozen."
No, you can't just one. You got to kill them all. Can't leave any orphans. Got to kill them all.
Exactly. And look, hey, look,
like
this rabbit stew ain't about to make itself.
Leave no orphans.
Jeez. All right, well, that is our show, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. We had a blast. Kill Your Darlings is a complicated subject, but it seems like we all agree it is a necessary tool that we all need to use in the right amount. That seems to be the consensus, and it's the important thing about this is balance in all things. Nothing is absolute when it comes to writing techniques. There's always going to be an exception to the rule, and just knowing when that exception is where the real talent comes in. That's how you can tell the difference between someone like that crazy lady who claims to work for the New York Times and someone like Dre. That's the clear defining distinction beyond the fact that she's old and white and he's not.
That's true.
Wait, you're not?
He has a backbone and she just has fifis.
Ooh,
yeah, she
that get hurt too much.
She doesn't have balls.
That's.
Are you assuming her gender?
I got my balls on my chest, bitches. Come at me.
It's not a stream with Lady B unless she shows off the chesticles. That's what.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, come on.
Praise be he. Praise be.
Praise be he or praise be she? Or praise be they?
They? Egad.
All right. On that note, Dre, Where can people find you? Have anything exciting coming up? Any writing stuff that you're going to be working on in the future?
Oh yeah, plenty of stuff in the future, but as of right now, just working on Trouble number 8. Hopefully it'll be dropping next month in February. The date is not official just yet. If I could plug something real quick, this Saturday at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, I will be on the Multiverse fundraiser this Saturday on the comic panel at 11 a.m. This is all for charity. All the sales and things go to charity, and this is for the John Ritter Foundation for aortic health. It's going to be a really fun time. Me and some other folks in the comic industry, we're coming together and just doing something for a charity. It's going to be pretty dope. So anybody that's interested, that would be the www.themultiversefun funraiser.com. All are welcome to come and join and support and
awesome.
hang out with us, and so we can talk about a little bit of everything. I'm gonna be doing a Q&A, so if anybody that's new to writing and anything that have questions for me or whatever, you're welcome to come and talk.
Nice.
Beautiful. Well, thank you for joining us, sir. And what about you, Lady Balefire? Where can people find you? Got anything good coming up?
I have a YouTube channel. It's at Lady Balefire, and I am going to be doing my first live stream on Thursday night. I think, like, we're just figuring out the time. I think it is going to be. Let me look up in my thing here, because we're gonna do at 8 Eastern. So 5 Pacific. And what I'm going to try to do is it's a ladies' night. It's me, Magitech Mags, Shelby Loves, and maybe Squeak a Mouse if she can make it. And we are going to talk totally 2000s teen girl stuff. I'm going to try to screen the Spice World movie on my Discord beforehand, and we're going to talk about that. And yeah, we're just gonna have a fun time. Maybe go a couple hours, and this will be my first stream at the helm, so I'm really excited about that. So I'm definitely dressing up. I am definitely dressing up. So
or
I
dressing
think
down.
all of us are. Yes. So.
Oh, that's great. You got to finish Sword of Destiny. Mustang
I do.
and
I do. Okay, I'll get back on that. I've been like trying to catch up because my phone broke at the end of the month. Put me like missed about 2 weeks of work. I'm trying to catch up with work and
yeah, of course,
keep my health up and stuff.
Well, it was great to have you here. Always great to have some
Thank you.
representation on this masculine stream.
I like the toxic masculinity here.
Hell yeah. And Adam, I mean, everyone knows who you are. Do we even bother?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
you said you got Twitter. That's new news. What's your Twitter handle or whatever they call it?
I am on Twitter at @TheRedNerd. I actually follow you, so I'm
okay.
And I tagged him in the post that I tagged you on.
I'm there. They all made me do it. We did it on my birthday, and there was a lot of Boomer involved on that night. A lot of Boomer.
Yeah,
involved.
I did Boomer on that stuff too because I've never
involved.
used Twitter.
So yeah, I am on Twitter at @TheRedNerd. You guys can follow me there. I'm basic bitch on there right now. I try to do much.
Do that right
there.
now.
Regular streaming stuff happening, regular videos happening tomorrow night. Probably doing God of War 2018 tomorrow night just because I've got nothing for a natural 20. Thursday, we're finishing up Star Wars: The Old Republic, and then we're moving on to Final Fantasy 14. Dermy and I are going to be doing that. He's starting it out, and some other people are going to be maybe popping in. Who knows? We're moving over there. We're probably some fun with it. Regular videos throughout the week. If some news goddamn happens, something goddamn happened today that I could cover. So then Saturday, this gentleman to my right and the lady below me, we are doing Saturday Night Drive-In. We've got Goodwill Hunting. Jed's choice, so blame him.
Good movie.
Love that movie.
We're going to do Goodwill Hunting, and then we're back on Sunday with the Round Table. I have no idea what we're doing yet. I don't. Who knows? The week is we got through last Sunday. We're gonna try and get through this Sunday. Other than that, yeah, check out the channel, The Renaissance Nerd. I will be reviewing a Velma episode 3 review. That'll happen this week. Hey, it's there. I laugh at it. I piss on it. It's fun. It's easy. I'm not doing Last of Us because you guys said I didn't have to. Other than that, check out the channel. That's all I got. It's the same as always, I guess. I'm thinking about dinner right now. My mind's already gone.
I agree.
What's for dinner, chef?
Chicken tenders.
Ooh, I like tenders.
No, that's a
Done.
meal I can
And
get.
Adam,
on
I
board
ain't too
with.
far from you, big dog. Hook a brother up. What we doing?
I love chicken tenders.
I prepped it all before the
Nuggets.
show. Just put the olive oil in the pan, heat up that oven. I'm good to go. Ready. I made the sauce yesterday. I'm all happy.
Oh, so fancy chicken tenders.
Yeah, it's
know.
chicken parm without the parma. I know that's offensive to you.
Yeah,
It's
you
chicken
can't
parm without
get.
the parm.
How do you live without the parm?
Parm,
That's the good part.
tastes good. It tastes terrible. That's why.
What?
It smells, and it smells.
Parmesan
Smells
is
horrible.
my cocaine.
I
Parmesan
know
love
is
it's
my
your
Parmesan
cocaine.
cheese, especially fresh ones, or like if you get the block and you grate it on your food. That's good.
It's more sophisticated than mine. I normally just do the pre-grated stuff.
Yeah.
You gotta try Parmesan popcorn, Lady B.
Okay,
Instead of-
that's actually
instead of-
pretty gross. It has a weird aftertaste.
Instead of salt, put Parmesan in your popcorn. It's really good.
Oh,
Don't do it to
that's
It's
it. I'm
top
out of here.
tier.
Like
I'm
truffle
gone.
oil.
I'm out
or
of here.
something.
I'm leaving.
Don't do it to yourself. Don't hurt yourself, baby. Don't do that.
My favorite thing. All right. Well, all these beautiful people's links to their channels are in the description box down below. For me, writing wise, I was actually featured in this month's issue of the literary review of Canada. So for the Canadians out there, if you're interested in a little bit of stuff about my first novel, and it does come with an award with it. So yes, literary review of Canada thinks I'm all right. I'm all right to the
Nice.
Canadians. I'm not sure if I want to
Oh,
take
yeah.
that credit. Trudeau's people saying I'm all right. I don't know if
I'm
that's
half
good.
Canadian. Eh?
We'll keep you humble. Don't worry. We'll keep you.
Well,
humble.
yeah, you keep me humble. It's what I need.
Oh, congrats.
Well, and thanks to the chat for joining us. You guys were great. Biggles, JB, Venus, Tranquil Waters as always, and everybody else. And that's where we're going to leave it all. That's all we have for today. So we will see you guys anon. Take care, everyone.
Hey, yo, are you feeling what I'm doing up in here? Oh, I know you are. Do you miss all the good, compelling stories that we used to get back in Hollywood that they ain't putting down no more? Oh, I know you missing it. So check out my book series, Odyssey of a Phoenix, a mythological epic about philosophy, morality, and modern day mental illness issues, baby. Book 1, Down in Flames. Book 2, Apocalypse Then. These are currently on sale. What are you waiting for? Get your hands on them. And we got Book 3, Kill the Dark, is coming down the pipeline. Just wait for all the good stuff that's dropping. You ain't gonna be disappointed, fam.